good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Asylum episode 50. Whoa, it's half a century already. We've been going for so long.
Can you believe it?
Hopefully, audio's working. Hopefully, everybody else's audio is working. We have this issue, so there's been a few comments on the YouTube channel saying that the audio is not working too well. Hopefully, it will be now. We are having issues with Discord, and that's totally out of our control, unfortunately. But fingers crossed it's all going to go on nice and swimmingly from here. So, this week, we are joined by the usual, the one and only, not so salty anymore, Mr. Madness.
What's up? What's up, people? How you doing?
We're also joined with the goat that likes his boat, that goes now...
Never floats.
Never floats, and is now actually out on mountain biking, and I can't rhyme that with goat just yet. Maybe next week. Mr. Buckridge.
Hello, all.
And last but not least, people go to his stream to watch his chair, and unfortunately have to watch him now and again. It is Mr. SuperMacBrothersRyan. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. It is all about the chair.
It is all about the chair. I've never seen someone. There probably are others out there, but I've not. His chat is extremely animated every time he disappears, and his chair is lurking in the
Chair
background.
talk. Yeah,
It's got its own Instagram.
It has. It's even going to take place of his life. He's going to start sleeping in his bed with his wife. He's going to start camping. He's just going to be left. In fact, one week you should just do it where you literally the chair's on top of you. You're just sitting there.
yeah, all the way around.
I'm the chair.
Yeah.
Then people might want to watch me instead when the chair goes to the toilet.
Aww.
Hopefully not on me, though.
So yeah, that was a weird intro, but there we go. So glad you're all with us this week. I've been away, so I wasn't here last week. So anything that was discussed last week, I did listen to some of it, but I haven't had a chance to listen to everything. But I'm sure we shall be covering lots of new, fresh stuff this week. There was some new info regarding ships and Squadron 42 and everything else, so that's good. But before we head on to that, so any of you guys that are watching this on YouTube, if you post any comments any comments below, which is great, but if you have any questions for the podcast team, if you put them in the comments on YouTube, we will try to include them in the following week's podcast and do some Q&A from that way. So if you're watching the show today live on Twitch, then ! Question. You can fill in the form and ask us any questions, and as always, you can ask us any questions in chat as well, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along, because we try to make this kind of like a news podcast for anyone that's new, sort of like a news podcast, but at the same breath we'd like to try and interact with chat, and if you've got questions on topics that we're talking about, then we like to discuss those as well. So that's the logistics done. Anyway, so if anybody, how's everybody been this week? Anything you wish to bring up and talk about? What have you been up to? No.
Anthem.
Wow.
Usual stuff, mate. Like podcast related in terms of kind of like we've been chatting about stuff that we're going to do for the show. We have a funding goal, which I want to kind of get that out there now at the beginning. So we want to try to raise enough money to be able to get some better, because we're talking about the audio Miz was talking about earlier. So we want to raise around about $2,000 this year for the podcast, which will be enough to be able to buy everybody on the team that does the podcast and part of the team better quality mics and mixers. Basically, that's the kind of the goal. I think it's fair. We've been doing it for I've been doing the podcast now for nearly 2.5 years, and it would be nice to be able to get some better gear. So we've got a little funding goal for the first time really properly on the show. So that's kind of a thing that we want to do. It's always I'm a very British person, so we're kind of asking for money is kind of very anti me. But it's one of those. It's like I'll front obviously a percentage for my own stuff, but I do think that it's something that we should do. So that's kind of something we want to push for this year.
Overall, the podcast has been growing slowly, and we keep at it, and so the YouTube's getting up. So we just want to try and, as always, make it a better experience for everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. That's very much it. We all want to we're all tired of the audio issues and all the rest of it. So we want to try and create a standard across for everybody so that we're all using, the same good quality gear and same microphones, and everyone's situation is different. So I think it's a goal, just like anything. Like we set goals, like, to reach like 1,000 subs on YouTube for the year and stuff like that. It's all, targets that keep us honest, keep us going for stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the things that we've been talking about. And then just loads of content improvements, ideas. One of the things I was going to add to what you said, Miz, was if people do have questions on YouTube and stuff as well throughout the week, if you've got topics that you'd like us to discuss as well, feel free to throw it at me. If there's something that's a burning issue as well, we have the soapbox for the guests. But if there's, at the end of the day, the questions is kind of a forum for you guys. But potentially, if it's a good topic, we can put that in the soapbox too, and we can discuss that as well. Maybe. It could be something from you guys. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that'd be kind of cool. So you guys can give us your soapbox comments for the week or something. We can pick through them and maybe have a vote or something to choose the best ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows?
Good idea.
Be kind of cool. Okay, cool. That's it. That's my bit done. I'm gonna go get a drink.
Bye.
Mr. Mockbearcher. We all know what you've been up to, but you can tell the world. There is something
tell
other
the
than
world.
StarCitizen.
Now, this week was more about a bit of study and Anthem, playing a bit of Anthem, and also did my first MTB trail, which was god awful scary, I have to say, because it wasn't a beginner's track. It was just, well, not even intermediate.
You didn't go on black, did you?
I went on black. I've been on normal tracks with regular people walking there. I've been on horse tracks, or what do you call it in England? I've seen it all.
Paths.
I've seen it all.
So I asked you before, and you said you don't really do downhills, but was any of it like downhill trekking?
Yeah, oh yes.
You did some proper downhill stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was
Did you
all
come off?
artificial, of course, because here in the Netherlands we don't have any hills, or
You
well,
have
at least.
artificial downhill tracks.
Yeah.
They need to build mountains.
We built mountains.
You've got man-built,
But they were so
mountains bigger
steep.
than the actual mountains.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it. I had to step off and walk up, and then step on again and go down, and then I
be
went
fair,
way too
that's
fast,
a
and
wise choice.
I pinched the brake. Luckily, the rear wheel, but yeah, I just drifted off. I didn't do anything anymore. It was way too slippery.
Yeah, I've done a few. So my brother's like a keen mountain biker, but I started slightly later. So I quite like the cross country stuff. You just travel from A to B, going across country. But he's like, no, he loves this downhill stuff. And obviously in Wales we've got quite a few mountains and stuff. So he's come up and he's like, oh yeah, do these routes. They're fine. And Jesus Christ. The black routes are, you literally just might as well, it's 50-50 whether you're going to survive by the end of
Yeah, exactly. And you see all these tree stumps sticking out of the ground. And they've painted it orange. That's really nice. But if I fall there, I will just break every bone in my body.
We don't have
It's 50-50 when you're walking now. When you're walking along a bike track, and you just sort of turn a corner, and then suddenly there's like 3 cyclists come zooming past.
Oh yeah. Well,
like,
that's fenced off. That's fenced off. That normal walking people.
Well, yeah,
can't
as
be
are
there.
dedicated tracks, but they don't go around and paint shit. Like if there's a tree or that, that's all part of. If you're going on a black course, that's tough. You just got to look out for stumps and drops. I mean, there's one of them that you went along and then it just literally disappeared, and it's huge. I've never even done a proper trail, and we're doing these ones with like massive jumps on it, and it was at the point where I didn't actually have a choice because I was going too fast. You just see this thing appear in front of you, and you jump.
We know how your landings are.
Let's just say I've had a few landings that have been interesting. well, let's say my bike stopped. I didn't.
Okay. Now our tracks are
Yeah.
dedicated tracks. They are being taken really care of, and actually, to be riding on there, you have to get yourself some sort of visum or
like a license.
A license. It costs you €12 a year, so that's absolutely nothing. But they've got good tracks. They are safe as possible with the paint, so that it's there. Not that they removed it, but it's still there, so it can hurt you.
I bet you just see a joyful little miserable running around with an orange paint can, painting everything as he passes it. No, this is tough.
I'd paint the whole fucking trowel like this. You shouldn't be on it. It's just deadly.
Exactly. But it was rough. It was rough. And honestly, I was really scared. I'm not scared that easily, but this was
Yeah. I can safely say it shits me up when you do the really bad stuff. It's like,
I tell you what was scary. I was watching Mac play freaking Red Dead Redemption 2 today. That was more scary.
Not Red Dead. You just keep saying.
Sorry, Resident Evil. It's in my head. It's a dyslexic thing. They're both into the same brain slot. But yes, Resident Evil 2, the remake thing. That was saying off air. Is it good? Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. But it does kind of leave a stain.
Yeah, in your
it left a stain on my pants. That's for sure. I had to put Disney music on. I was like listening to Mulan and Lion King, The Circle of Life, and
Frozen 2's coming soon.
Yeah.
Well, not soon, but
it was.
That's probably.
It was a different experience. It's a great game. I would recommend that for anybody. If you're ever scared, just put on some music that's contrary to the scary moment, and then it just
or just turn the volume down.
Yeah, turn the volume down. Just play it listening to Disney music. It would be a whole new, different experience.
It's brilliant.
I'm happy. Zombies coming at you with like birds tweeting away. La 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 la.
That's honestly. I should have recorded it one time. It'd be hilarious. Should do a live recording next time.
I went to my first opera the other day, and I can imagine it being like that, playing Resident Evil to an opera. Just all the birds singing, all the little breaking into song as these like zombies are trying to rip your face off.
Which one's everyone's favorite Resident Evil then? Which one's everyone's favorite? Because like I never played Resident Evil until the 5th one.
I would say number 2. Number 2 was definitely my favorite of the older generation games. 7's good though.
7. I played 5 and I played 6. I think I played 7, but I only played it once it started to get co-op-y, so I could have a friend to hug and share and look after me and make sure I was safe.
Did they do co-op then?
Yeah, the 5 one, the one in Africa, which is the one I played, is that you could play with your friend. It was brilliant. You could have 2 people going and doing the missions together.
They went through a real shitstorm, didn't they, when they started doing other like, because it's changed a lot. I like the really constrictive views, like 1, 2, even Nemesis was quite like that as well. Number 4 was like the Dreamcast Village one, where you had the over the shoulder view for the first time, which I thought was cool, but you do miss that classic Resi style. But what I really want to see is Dino Crisis. Dino Crisis was, even to this day, I still watch videos on Dino Crisis, just praying that they will remake it. And to be fair, I reckon they will. I won't be surprised.
Okay,
did you want to play it?
Just because we got a good question at the beginning, and I want to bring it to StarCitizen quickly. I know we're having this is normally our non-StarCitizen section, but I'm just going to do it in. 13th Voice asked a question about the Reclaimer. Okay, so as he's here and it's easy, we don't get a huge number of questions. I figured it's early days, we can dive into this question. He basically was saying, I don't know if anyone caught it, but he basically said, question: I've been sitting on the Reclaimer. When should I be expecting any content to justify not swapping it out because it is useless for the past 4 years? I don't think it's been out for 4 years, but I think it's been out for about 2 years or about 1 or 2 years, and looking more like another 2 more years. Well, again, it looks more like probably Q4 Salvage should be coming if they stick to it. More than likely, that could be delayed. But I have maintained that I think the Vulture has a better chance of having working than the Reclaimer.
By what end of December, we're more likely to see the Vulture. But then you never know. I mean, I don't.
You never know. You never know.
We don't know what their plan is for the Reclaimer, do we? And it could. They did say it's on foot and in a ship salvage.
They did say the Reclaimer would be working.
You're
That was
not going.
they
You're
said
going to
on-
see first iterations of everything, and first iterations are always smaller ships. So I think, and like same with the mining, I think until they've got it working out on the smaller ships, you're not going to see it on the Reclaimer, because I think there's a big chance that they don't even really know how to get the whole mechanics and
The
how to
claw
make it
and
look
then
right, and the claw and everything
yeah.
else themselves. So, and the fact that they're concentrating on Squadron 42 a lot,
Yeah.
not to be a
that's
downer, I
kind
just don't think. I think you put in realistic expectations. I think you'll see salvaging on a smaller ship first.
Yeah, handheld items.
That's I think so. I think it will be that. I think it will be the tier 0, tier 1s. I've maintained that since the Reclaimer pretty much came in. I can see that without any game mechanics, that it was probably a long way away. The ships never really made a huge amount of sense to me anyway, in terms of the way it's laid out and how things work. But just to be clear, because I like to show both points, the devs have said that the salvage comes in that they're intending to try and make it so that obviously the Reclaimer's mechanics will work. So the Reclaimer could, in theory, work. I wouldn't be surprised that we just said that and I've said this before, that the Vulture will work first. It makes more sense the way it runs and looks
Like the Prospector example.
Yeah, exactly. Just looks like it's going to make more sense and work easier. They may even have the salvage that Miz just said, the gun. Now, to answer the question about melting, because I suggested, like, at the end of the day, there's a huge amount of money sitting on the ship, and he's asking, how do I melt? Now, I've never mounted anything, so I don't know how to do this, because I've never done it, because I always buy what I want, and if I don't want it, I just CC you up, which I think is the same issue. He has to CC you up. Now, he's wondering how to melt, so maybe somebody in chat, if you know or have melted anything, you could provide exactly what he needs. Otherwise,
I think the way you do it is you go to your hangar on your account. So you go into your account, go down to settings, go into hangar, and then you find that ship, and you click exchange.
no,
and
he's
I
exchanging
think it would
credit,
say
isn't
melt,
it?
but it doesn't say melt. It says exchange.
Yeah,
which
it's
means
exchange, so
for
you-
credits.
Okay.
It just gives you that financial money back into your account that you can then reuse for something else. But you do have a CCU buyback, so it might be worth. I would suggest maybe melting it or exchanging it for the credits, buying something that's in game now and usable, like a prospector. You've got to have a lot more money left over, but a prospector or something that you can use for cargo. And then when we do get salvage, maybe go back and what's it called again? Buyback. Maybe buy it back then.
Yeah, and you get a buyback token. So I think it's every quarter you get a buyback token. Is that correct? You get 4 a year, I think it is, and so you
can
get
only
a
have one
token
at
to
a
be able to
time,
buy back.
so you don't spend it. You don't.
Yeah, they don't stack.
You don't get a second one, but
Yeah.
They
You have
don't
to-
stack.
you
Like,
have to-
but yeah.
Question: do you have to buy back? Can you use store credit on the buyback, or does it have to be fresh cash
Store
I can't
credit.
remember.
You can use store credit on a buyback.
and cash? You can use
cash.
store credit on a buyback.
So
Okay,
if basically, if this might as well say it while we're here, but if you buy it with store credit, you can only use the buyback token. If you're buying it with cash on buyback, you can buy back at any point. You don't need a token for it.
Mm.
So if you're putting fresh money into the
there you
game,
go.
you can buy it at any point.
Clever.
But yeah,
They're
so
clever.
honestly, there's no point having it sitting on a wasted ship. You might as well melt it and buy it back later.
No.
It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
And you buy it back at the price you paid originally, rather than if it increases in price, I believe.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
ship- I don't normally tell people, like, on ships that are like fly ready, if they don't, you know what I mean? I normally, for the people, it's like, if you've got a fly ready ship, it's like, you got a fly ready ship. I don't generally, say people to melt them and stuff, but there are a few ships in the game that, in my opinion, are a little bit redundant whilst they wait for their parts. I think.
Oh yeah, there's loads.
I
Isn't
think
there?
the Makos that are coming in, even with the reworks that are coming in, they don't even have the game mechanics for those working yet, which is the Reliance, I believe, is that. So I almost immediately see those ships, unless there's something super special about them, they're just on the rack. They're almost on the rack before they even bring them into game. I don't even know why they even bring them into game. Honestly, I swear to God, they should just stop them and focus on.
Let's say, for
something else.
example, you had a specific ship that you bought and you really wanted, whatever it might be, regardless of whether it has the mechanics or not. I would personally rather have the ship in game to fly, to get used to flying, to enjoy, to get used to knowing where the inside of your ship, and then when the mechanic comes, you already have an understanding of the ship, rather than waiting until the mechanic comes. Because if that's the case, then all we'll have is dogfighting ships, cargo ships, and ships that are like the Prospector. I'm happy that they put in all the ships that are ready as they're ready. Plus, it irons out the bugs.
It also you've got an element of if you say you've spent that big chunk of money, but that's the only ship you own, then you may want to have. So I want to fly something that's a bit different. Whereas I think if you've got the opportunity to have a couple of ships, then it doesn't matter if one's not necessarily functioning; it's just flyable. Because otherwise you won't be able to do anything other than like if you only had the Starfarer, I suppose you could do a bit of cargo in it. I suppose.
Yeah, you could do cargo, but you would still appreciate having something like a dogfighter, wouldn't you? That you could at least take part in those missions for.
Yeah. I don't like doing it, Mac. I don't generally, at the end of the day, if pretty ship's a pretty ship and all, and if that's what you want to do and fly around in, then that's fine. But most, it's tough to justify some ships sometimes. It's like,
well, most of them are pretty useless at the moment anyway, because there's no real gameplay. But when renting comes in, hopefully 3.6?
Yeah, renting should be.
That will change it up a bit. Because at the moment, buying ships is too hard because it takes forever.
It's funny because we kept saying, when buying ship comes in, it'll change it all, and then it's now, well, when renting ship comes in, unless they put the rent costs ludicrously high. I mean, it's literally that. It's not because of buying it's the issue; it's the cost of it too high.
It's the gap. There's not a gap. They've not filled the gap properly. You go from a tiny little shitty ship to suddenly a massive 1.7 million ship. There's not an Avenger in the middle there. There's not they don't have enough smaller ships to kind of fill the gaps leading up.
They've done that.
I think they did overprice the ships initially. They should have kept them a little more reachable for the sake of 3-month white period or quarterly white period, and the amount you can earn. I don't agree with that. They should have reduced the price, even if it's nowhere near what the final version is.
Why do you think that they haven't put
I don't know.
That's
dangerous.
Ships,
that's dangerous.
The ones that most people are flying.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe they're trying to not have every ship available at one location, because we've got Teachers and at Levski, haven't we? And then we've got Hurston or Lawville one. I'm assuming we might get a bigger selection at ArtCorp, but again, it's just give us them for availability wise at a cheaper price that people will have something to aim for. Yeah, and people will enjoy it more.
I don't mind the prices. I don't mind the prices too much. There needs to be some better game mechanics to make some money that actually work really well as well. Not being funny. The Widow thing is kind of like, it is what it is, but it's the terminal citizen for selling stuff and all that shit is kind of a bit shit for me as well. It's like they need.
And that was just an accident, wasn't it? I don't think they fully intended for Widow to be a money-making scheme.
No, exactly.
So that's just luck that fell on good ground,
I don't think so, exactly. So I think for me, it's like, if that wasn't there, so I just think introduce a couple ships in the middle, to fill the gap leading up to things will make a difference. Now, sorry, just to answer 13, yes, one more thing about buying, I think it was, and obviously when you have the store credit, when you mount the ships and you have the money, the store credit, you won't be able to just have access to all the ships because there's lots of ships aren't available to buy. Unfortunately, the CIG in their infinite wisdom have made it so that artificial scarcity is a thing for some reason. Every year we have to wait for sales and anniversary sales and all sorts of random other things that they do. So you won't be able to just suddenly go out and say, oh, I want to go buy this ship or that ship with all my money. Like a Carrack, for example, you won't be able to do it, unfortunately. So unless you do it through the grey market, which is perfectly fine. Then you have to obviously pay a premium and all sorts of other things, and you won't be able to use your store credit on that, I'm afraid. So kind of buggered. This is why a lot of people do that stuff before the anniversary sale. They sell all their big ships and then they get all their big money in their bank accounts. This is why they get really salty when StarCitizen made it war bond for LTI. That's why everyone suddenly went, no, how dare you do this to us? I wanted lots of new LTI tokens. Well, with my stock, well, that's why, because they knew that they would have to drop loads of real money. So yeah, there you go. Cool. That was a good intro to StarCitizen, wasn't it?
Yep. So there we go. That's that. So if anyone else has any questions, remember !question, Q, and or ask it in chat. So let's talk about some StarCitizen stuff. So, would you want to start on some ATV, or is there anything?
Do you want to talk about the Heartseeker? Should we talk about the Heartseeker?
Well, this is Box Soapbox, so let's let him.
Oh no, I don't want to make that many words about it. But as a Super Hornet owner, I was quite salty about it. Why on earth are they releasing a better Super Hornet on freaking Valentine's Day? Is that all it takes to rearrange their plans for a limited ship with a special loadout and making it even better? I really don't get it.
Is it a Super Hornet or is it just a regular Hornet?
It's a Super Hornet.
F-7C military.
Super Hornet.
It's got better stuff.
It's
than
just
the
a
Super
meta.
Hornet
It's a
has,
meta.
so-
It's a meta Hornet for this patch only, and it's like only temporary. You will see more improvements. There'll be new guns will come in. We've got the
It's not
Tachyon
just
gun
the
coming
guns,
in.
is it? It's the power plant.
The power plant. Yeah, but it's only what's that? B grade civilian power plant, I believe, from Origin that the Origin guys use for racing. I think it's the racing one that's used in some of the stuff. Again, like people there's going to be more tiers to all the component parts. This is just purely. Some people hate it because they think it's like a money grab, like it's like kind of like it's just grabbing on people's kind of things. I CCU'd it. I haven't got a Super Hornet in my fleet. I'm more interested in having the Super Hornet for the armor when armor comes into the game, and the fact we have a new flight model. And so for me, I got it because I was like, I want to obviously have. I haven't got those component parts on any of my other ships, so it's nice obviously to be able to have access to that. And two, it's like I know it'll be fine for like a couple of months, maybe 6 months, and there'll be a new ship out. You know, the Banu will be out with new weapons and new power plants on that and new ships. Honestly, it's not a big deal, Buck.
For me, it is.
But it's always it's not a big deal.
Don't take it away from it.
Super Hornet is a limited
Not a big
ship.
deal, buddy.
No, I agree with Bok. Unfortunately, on this one, like I don't care that they do different. Like, if you had a normal Hornet with a different upgrade on it, and you didn't call it the Super Hornet or something, no, that's fine. But at the end of the day, they sold the Super. Like they said, this is a limited ship. Everyone was quite annoyed when they resold the Super Hornet recently because it was a special thing. It was only supposed to be so many, and then they resold it, which was like that annoyed enough people. But then to go and upstage it with another one that's actually got better components, it's kind of like, well. Oh, well, I suppose technically it will make the Super Hornet limited because no one's going to fucking want it. It's like, well, I don't want it now because it's actually got less ingredient.
And it's got a hat on the side.
Components.
I think that's cool. I like the vinyl. I like the fact I got a woman on the side of my ship. It's wicked.
Oh, I like the decal, but...
and I don't care that all the extra stuff or the better stuff that's in the Super Hornet right now, you can buy it later on yourself and fit it on your old Super Hornet. That's not the issue. But the Super Hornet was the only militarized version of the Hornet. And now we suddenly have actually two.
Now I have to see. Okay, here's the thing, right? On this
That's
one,
not
I'm gonna say
limited.
this one. I have to kind of actually say, well done to StarCitizen and the CIGs for this. Actually, I mean, I'm going completely against the grain here on this one, Bok, because when they last did these type of variants, they were god awful with the choice of the component parts and all the things. Like they did a Gladius variant, they did a Hornet one, which was the Wildfire. Which
the thingy of flight.
They did a terrible skin, like, and it was I was like, why? Like, this is like $5-10 more or $15 more. There was no reason. I was like, there's no reason. Whereas this time they've introduced one, and I'm going, there is a reason. It has better components on it. It has quite a nice decal if you want to say that, but generally the components are better. So for me, I was like, they've learned a lesson from when they fucked up, in my opinion, on the previous variants. I think they've improved on it. Better. It costs more. I think it's a slippery slope, and I will say that there is a risk that this is where I really don't want CIG to do, and I worry that they would do this because this is where I do agree, and I am with you, Bok, is if they were to start to sell the better tiering components later on in the game, then I might have an issue with it on buying ships like stock. I don't like the idea of people using money to buy better tier components. I think that should still stay within the game and grinding. I don't like it. I think they will do it because it's money and it's capitalism and they want to make money. We need to make money. But I don't want them to do it. And I would think that
they should have done it on a regular Hornet.
They've already kind of done it. You think so?
Everybody's about the decal. Well, it's got a decal. You know what happens when I'm going to fly the Super Hornet with the decal on the side? I will be looking on that side all of the time and I can't hit shit. That's what's going to happen. I will crash.
I'll be kissing that side of that every time I get in, and I'll be like kissing it.
Yeah. No, but
no,
it's,
I understand.
poor choice.
I understand.
It's just basically. I mean, whether you give a shit or not, it's a bad way of getting around saying this is a limited thing. It's at the end of the day, if you sell something like if tomorrow CRG said, right, we're selling, and they've done it before, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, we've got 50 of these ships. That's all that's there, and people. What happens is people go mad. They buy it while it's available because they're told it's not going to be available again. This is it. This is your last chance to buy these 50 ships, and then 2 months later, oh, we've got those 50 ships, but we've given them all a very slightly different colour tint to the wing. There you go, knock yourself out. Go and buy these not so limited ships now. And we've only got 50 and it's never going to be on sale again. Maybe until another couple of months.
And you probably pay a bit more extra for it as well.
It's not about that. It's about the fact that you're selling something that was meant to have been limited and then you get around it by slightly tweaking it.
Right.
That's like, okay. I mean, I think it's because I'm in the business. Because I'm a toy collector. And I collect Star Wars things, and they do that with Lego as well, is they'll reiterate the same, pretty much like almost the same kind of model piece, but then they'll tweak a few little things, and like they maybe change this, that, and they'll give it a different code number, and then they'll justify, it's not exactly the same. So for the toy collector, it's like, oh, I can have this version of the Millennium Falcon, and then this version of Millennium Falcon. This has got like an extra 120 brick pieces for a different decal here and different decal there, but it's almost the same thing. I hate to say it, but like the truth of the matter is they've got 600 employees that they've got to pay their wages and they've got 3 buildings and they have a shit ton more years to make this game. So they need as much money as they can possibly get. I'm like,
Super Hornet.
I think it's going to happen to all of them. I think, honestly, there is nothing.
I know,
well,
but
that's the thing. Like, I don't care because I don't really care what they do. But I know people buy things because they think it's going to be limited. But I suppose the moral of the story is don't get too hung up about things being limited because the chances are you'll get another chance to buy it. Because they did it with something else where they said it would never be on sale again, and then they tweaked it. They didn't. I don't think they even tweaked it. They just decided to sell another limited number. So
I mean, it's just a paint job, isn't it? It's not really the component because the components anyone can place themselves. It's purely the paint job that is limited. So really, you're just buying a paint job, and if you choose, if you like the components, fair enough, may make the ship better. But again, you can get into the game, you can upgrade them yourself. The only difference is you're buying a paint job, and that's the way you should look at it. Is it's just a different color scheme. And they probably shouldn't sell another color scheme and then call it a limited edition, but it's still a limited edition because it's a different color scheme. And if you want that color scheme, you can get it. If you don't want it, don't buy it.
It's like the comet, the Saber Comet. The Saber Comet is another example. That was a Saber Comet comes in that had some different component parts to it, and a terrible chav digital kind of bluey grey whatever.
Was that one of the Masters of Flights, the Comet?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was that whole pack. They did the whole Firefly, the Gladius Valiant pack, and the
there was 4 ships, wasn't there? Hornet,
there was
Gladius,
another one, and the Titan Avenger,
and Avenger. Yeah, that's it.
That was it. And I got the Avenger and I bought the Gladius because they were both obviously at this time you could get LTI with both of them with them, which I think was quite kind of interesting because you can get LTI obviously with these variants, which is fine if you want LTI tokens. It's cool. I mean, it's an interesting topic and I can see where people get frustrated about it, but at the same time, I just kind of go, it's kind of like that's normal, like kind of things that you do for collectible stuff. It's like you make things. You do that to make people pay a bit of money, and it's also minimal work for them. Minimal work, and they make a lot of more money. So I'm like, good for them because they're not wasting any time doing development. Do you know what I mean? There's no wasted time on the game developing it.
That's true.
And they've just made a shit ton of money, which is what we want, so that that keeps the lights on and keeps them going. So, yeah, it's a bit. I can see it's a little bit annoying for some people, but like there are far more horrible things like the paywalling CitizenCon stuff that's far more dirty in my opinion than this one. But anyway,
next topic.
Good topic. Good one. I did think it was interesting.
That's when people are surprised when EA bring out something and say, "Oh, they got blue boxes. I never expected that."
Yeah.
Just get with it. It's going to happen.
How dare they do this to us? Right.
Thank you, Mr. Moist Noodle, for the raid, sir. Welcome everybody from his channel.
It's me.
Moist destroying people.
He
destroying.
turned into a proper pirate as well, I think.
I am so proud of Moist Noodle. I can't tell you. Like, he's just taken it to the next level for me, which is great. This is what you do when you teach and offer advice to somebody, and then they take it, and then they add, and then they throw their gameplay style on the way they play, and then they get into it and they enjoy it. Super proud of him. Couldn't do it.
And then they got to relearn when 3.5 comes in.
Yeah, well, yeah, but Toby was Toby was my first one.
Everybody. It's like they start off as these Care Bears. They like doing missions. They're all friendly. They invite people onto their ships. Oh yeah, come on! Like Toby did nothing but quest, like the missions, nothing but missions and missions every day in. And then Matt's like, oh, let me teach you a little bit about fighting. And the next thing, you know, you've got killer fucking polar bear that doesn't. Now he won't even play the game unless he can dogfight. And he's got to the point where he's damaged his wrists. He's broke about 3 or 4 joysticks. Through PvP, it's like completely wrecked.
A pedal set.
Yeah. So if you are that person out there, a budding new, I'm always looking for new people to influence
and that wants to the rest of the
turn.
I'll be signing up 3.5 madness.
I had one of those.
For sure.
Take
when
me
I was
over.
a kid, I had one of those teddy bears that you could. It looked like a normal soft bear, and then you turned it like a werebear, and you turned its head inside out, and then it had like fangs and everything else. That's pretty much what you're doing. You're getting all these Care Bears, turning them inside out, and then just corrupting them into the
best disguise, though, isn't it?
I was very proud of Toby. Was the first, but like many things, he kind of betrayed me slightly and kind of turned back to the good side and became all full goody. Whereas Moist went full dark, and I'm so proud of it.
It's not pirate through and through.
That's my boy. No, I like legit. Like, no, but he's awesome. Like, he's like, I watched him play. I wouldn't mess with him. I would not mess with Moist too much in Atmosphere Mode. He's got his own game style, his own strategy style. He's taking it to another place. So yeah, super cool. Very pleased.
Taking it to a dark place.
Yeah, clearly to a moist place, a moist and dark place.
A moist dark place with no return.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he's he's teaching me now stuff, which is great.
Okay, cool.
What was I going to say? Right, so
that was the Hornet. The other thing, well, I suppose we can, if we're talking about ships, we can talk about this, the new Argo ship as well.
Oh yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Let's talk. Like, okay, so what's everyone's? What did you guys? If you got an animation, Miz? Because I saw the animation, and just like the Reclaimer animation, it was total trash.
What do you mean?
Is that with the cutlass behind it?
It didn't show us doing diddly shit. It did nothing. It literally, one ship moved slightly closer to the other one, and the other one had the bit spinning around. It didn't actually show us it doing anything. Like the Reclaimer with the claw, it shows the claw going out, doing this, going like that doesn't mean diddly. That could be another 20 years away.
Does it mean diddly?
It means nothing. Like watch, look, it just opens up a little bit, and then, oh yeah, of course, because we're supposed to then make up the rest of that shit in our heads. Come on.
This animation, this picture,
it's like sex in the.
What do you want? A fucking final version for a grey box?
Could you imagine Game of Thrones that did that for the sex scene? Could you imagine that? You know what I mean? How poor and disappointed we'd all be. Like, you can make up the rest of that now, guys. Just make up the rest. We promise we'll get it done. We'll promise we'll get it finished for you. You know,
I mean,
honestly,
actual animation reminds me of when I was kids, and you have two cars, and you push them together. It's
big explosion.
Wiggle it around, and then go. Woo.
Okay,
now close your eyes and imagine.
How do you picture it in your head? Will there be
let's not go there.
I don't want to have to picture it. I want to see it working.
Will it only work in space or also on the
It's
surface?
a fucking concept sale. You expect
No,
to
I
have
know
the
it
final version.
No, but serious
I
question.
always do.
Does it work on surface and space or only in space?
I would assume both.
Well, one of those still pictures is showing it in a docking bay picking up cargo crates, so I would presume it would work on atmosphere as well.
They didn't really clarify that, but
I understand it's based on mass, isn't it? So the amount of mass it can pick up, and so if you're trying to maybe pick up if let's say for example the Cutlass is its massive amount, it's the most it can carry or move. If that was an atmosphere, maybe it wouldn't be able to pick it up. maybe it would be able to pick up
I think
smaller
it'd probably
ones.
have less mass.
Let
that it
me
could move or
let
something.
me say it this way: if the Cutlass is the biggest ship it can pull in space, that's not much. I'm
You can have
comparing this
multiple of them,
to those big ships, real ships, boats, with the little boats in front. They will tug.
That's
huge
true.
ships.
Well, yeah, when you think about it, there's no
And
friction,
And
so
there's
why
no
won't
friction
it be
at
able
all?
to?
So
Can I? So this has to see. Like, here's my thing with a tugboat. The guys like, does the cockpit spin around, or do those arms spin around? Because the way I look at it is
The
like,
arms.
so you're going to basically have it in. They do actually spin behind it.
It's
How are
always
you gonna be
behind
running-
it. You reverse up to it, suction or whatever.
So it is.
Tractor
So it is in reverse. So it is in reverse. Because I was looking at it, going, "Is those lights?" I was confused by the design. I was going, "So is that the cockpit because of the way the lights are?" I was like, "That doesn't make any
you think
sense to
like
me."
the
So,
Vulture? No, that's the
no,
back.
no. It. Okay, that is the back. Okay, cool. That's fine. Because I was thinking, Jesus, that makes no sense. Okay, cool, fine.
Well,
Tugboat,
the
you can't see anything.
I know. I was like, "What? Does it spin around? They're going to do a cool animation with the
Yeah,
cockpit
like the
spinning around or
Crucible.
something?"
Pulls it on this.
the Crucible
picture, you
does
can
that,
see
doesn't it? Where it goes. Whoosh. But we've seen we have seen it pulling a constellation.
I
But
see
there's
the
actually two of
concept.
them. There's two of them pulling a constellation. There's not one of them. They said there's a potential that it could, one could pull a constellation, but they're unsure on it yet.
It-
But on
it
the
said
concept art,
depending
it has
on
two.
What's in the constellation? So it said like
It's
you'll
mass
be able
sort
to
of thing.
probably pull a Cutlass full with cargo. If you pull a Connie, it'd have to be one that's probably not laden down with a ton of cargo as well, basically. But,
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's something that they may well tweak. They may think the same thing on this little thing should be able to pull more than just a Connie or more than just a Cutlass because it's. I know you can link them, but it does seem a little bit irrelevant if you can, because like if you can, the biggest ship that you can pull is a Connie. That's only like 8 crew, so like you might as well just get another ship almost. Like whereas
8 crew.
No, sorry, it's about what is in a Connie about? Well, you can have 4 crew, but you also got the turret. Sometimes isn't there room for turrets or anything else? I thought it was only 4 for anyway.
You can fit more in there, yeah.
What I meant is, okay, it's not going to pick up a huge amount of people. So, like, for you to call a tugboat rather than necessarily something else or whatever, it's like, I don't know. Like,
So I guess we'll have to wait for the
says
Q&A.
normally you have a smaller these tugboats, if that's what we're calling it, pull much bigger. But
Yeah, one should be able to. And that's with friction of water.
exactly.
let alone in
Exactly.
space.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not as such a tugboat, is it? We're calling it a tugboat, and technically it is, but accurately, I guess it does depend on mass. So I don't really know how it's going to. But the Q&A should answer all these.
Yeah, there is going to be.
They'll answer these questions. But I like it. I think it's a cool ship. I think there's going to be a use in it. Just does the drones of a reclaimer do the same thing, or is that not the case? Did I hear somewhere about it? The drones tractoring ships out of like asteroid fields.
I don't know if they do complete ships.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not then.
I think so. I mean, there's going to be tractor beams. We've got tractor beams on caterpillars, and we're going to have tractor beams on other things. I think the Cutlass has a tractor beam, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think they're intended for like moving big ships. I think they're more for moving like small cargo boxes.
Okay.
This is like the tractor on this is like big
Super-ish
compared to
So-
other ones.
This I'm playing devil's advocate here, by the way. I know more than I'm letting on. This ship, for people that maybe don't know about the ship, I'm playing that person. I do it really well. I play stupid beautifully. It's funny though. So I'm trying to think. So like in terms of the way I looked at this ship originally when I saw this was as an NPC ship that they're selling, because I was like, this just feels like a ship that, in reality, if they don't have the game mechanics working very well for it yet again, they can at least make this in for Squadron 42 and have them buzzing around as a computer, NPC ships doing things and making things look cool. You know what I mean?
Something that's just... Go on, sorry.
Go on. Go.
Something that's just... They've mentioned a while ago, haven't they, about when we get ship-to-station docking and it comes to unloading things like the Hull C, there's going to be maybe an Argo-style vehicle, they said, that would be able to take those boxes and unload it. So yeah, you're actually quite right there, I reckon. I reckon you'll see a lot of these run by NPCs or flown by NPCs taking cargo off of off your Hull C while you're waiting for it to be done. But then I guess there will be use for players. And they said they'll have NPCs in distress that need to be towed to the nearest repair station. But yeah, I reckon orbital docks, we'll see a lot of these buzzing around, as you say, by NPCs.
Yeah. Makes it more alive.
I think the reason we're seeing this is probably because it is something that's going to be in Squadron 42. Like you said, it may well just be an NPC one, but I think it's something you're going to see being active. In terms of mechanics, I can't imagine it's not like the Reclaimer trying to work out how all the arms and everything work. I imagine the mechanics for this are a lot more simpler, and it's just how you get something attached to another one. Like they don't have to work out, like the arm comes out, the plate magnetizes, and it pulls something. So apart from working out the physics and out of it all, the actual mechanic of the ship, this one makes a lot more sense, and it's not too complicated. It just sticks out and things stick to it. But I think that is probably what you mentioned there is a key part of this ship that probably sells it a little bit more than maybe even just towing ships, because it's I think they mentioned about it being able to pull mining materials and asteroids and things like that. So if you're mining, they've also said that if you're not pulling like a big ship, you'll be able to group like these containers together. So I do think you'll probably see a huge amount of this being used for the whole series, getting and unloading their cargo crates and probably pulling a big chunk of them all at once off of the ship down to the stations or wherever you can dock it with. So,
it's definitely going to be a ship that's used quite a lot, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I was joking a bit when it first came out because I was like, well, what's the point? And then if it can only pull like this ship, and then I can imagine. So we're saying like with the Kraken, where you can have certain amount of ships docked on top, you'll be able to have about 20 of these just glued.
Glued to each other.
Because are you going to be able to pull these along rather than these pull something else along? So they just stick themselves. They can't pull the Kraken, but you can all stick to the Kraken as it pulls you along.
Like those little sucker fish.
Yeah.
I do think it looks a bit too much like the Vulture, though. It looks too great. The only thing that is Argo about it is that little tiny bit of cockpit that's slapped on at the front, and that's probably the exact same cockpit.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I like that.
I thought the actual front section of it is almost the same shape as the Argo.
Yeah, no, the front cockpit
front
section.
Part.
Oh, actually, yeah, I can see.
Even the circle hub on top of that is all. If it shows you on this picture somewhere, there you go. On there,
Sarah's done a great
part.
job.
I think that's an Argo part next to it.
Actually, you make a good point. It does look very Argo-like, doesn't it?
I think honestly, Sarah's done a good job on it. I think it looks great. The styling, it looks very industrial. Miz obviously loves the colorway. It looks. When I saw it, I was like, I can't fault it. I was like, yeah, I like the fact there's a little bit of synergy between the kind of the Vulture and this one and a few of the industrial ships. It kind of creates like a nice little cool DNA about them. I was like,
but the Argo and Drake shouldn't really have DNA between them, though. You know, it's like they've always gone on about how each manufacturer should be unique in style and silhouette.
Yes and no. I would agree and I disagree on this one because yes, I agree. But then if you look at industry and stuff like that, and you look at Caterpillar brand, and then you look at another, I'll have to go and research some more.
It's more good toy.
They tend to look pretty similar, and they're just a different colorway. One's an orange, one's a yellow. One's they're a bit chunkier. They have at the end of the day, you're limited to a degree by what you're designing them for and the industrial look, and there's a reason for it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you think about it in manufacturing terms, these parts and stuff are really big or difficult to make, so they're going to come from one supplier. Just like when you buy your TV, it's all made in the same factory. It's just one sticks their logo on the side of it and the other one sticks another logo. And the people that are making it in the big factory sense, they want to make money, so they usually tend to try and get everything from the same place. And there's a good reason why, in my opinion, you could have two brands with a design aesthetic that's meant to be slightly different, but ultimately looking similar-ish in the industrial side of things.
Yeah,
that would be my.
I also think it's because they're both human designed and made, and like you said, there's a limited amount of variation, I suppose, you can have on that.
All cars look the same now, don't they?
To do a certain function.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a lot of cars they do. Without seeing the logo on the front, you could mistake a lot of them for the same thing. So yeah, I get that. I mean, I know what you mean. Probably because of the way that the thick, chunky arms stick out, it does look very, very similar. But I don't know. I do want. Well, I suppose it would be nice to see some more imagination. Maybe to see people think of it slightly differently. But I suppose it's we've said this before in terms of when you watch like films and things, you get in the back of your mind, you don't even necessarily know you're getting inputs from all sorts of things that you're already seeing, and then you put that into your design without really subconsciously doing it. And that's probably what ends up happening. Is you need this function, you know it's going to tow, so you know it's going to have some arms sticking out the back. But I mean, I love the look of it anyway.
And I think about the Vulture as well in terms of what the Vulture does. It goes up to something, locks onto something, and then salvages something. This goes up to something, locks onto something, and then tows something. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's a very similar task. I know that would explain, in my opinion, is kind of why it would have a similar type of thought process behind it, which could lead to a similar design. But I'm all for newness. At the end of the day, why should this be the only NPC type of industrial type of vehicle? Maybe I'm hoping we're going to see loads more of these.
Yeah, I would think so. I think they're getting like a means to an end out first, and then we'll see more variation from different manufacturers that suit that particular role. So yeah, we may see another tugboat style coming along later on down the line. But for now, I can really see why this was brought in now, because of the ship-to-station docking needing to come in. So they need to get this out as quick as possible, well, in time for that, so that they can have a means to taking cargo off of ships. And I think we will see that heavily in when we do get ship-to-station docking, and, 3.8, isn't it, for the whole sea?
Yeah.
It is expensive, though. I hadn't checked on the price, but to chat 130 war bond.
It's 130 and 130 will win 150. It's. I mean, when you think about it, it's the same price as a Prospector. It's the same price as the Vulture, pretty much. Yeah. It's all in this. All these industrial ships have all kind of they've decided that this is the amount the components and the ship cost, and they're all about the same sort of physical size as well. They've obviously gone. This is the bar, and they put a this is it, and this is how much these are going to cost, and it's like. Right.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I think they're about $50 too expensive for meant to be tier. If you think about an Avenger, I'd put a Titan Avenger next to it in physical size, the new one, and say, how much is an Avenger? Somebody is like $90,
$60,
$60. I'd say to me, why is that? Like, what is it that's like can do cargo hauling? It can do dogfighting. It can do a few varieties of things. Why is that? Whole $60.
I think we've got lucky with the Avenger, haven't we? We've got really lucky with the Avenger. It's like that is the only one. And everyone says, "Oh, what's the next step up from a starter ship?" That's clearly the best direction to go in. And I'm thinking, like, maybe they've just missed that and not increased the price.
Maybe they did say that with the new component thing, it's all going to get addressed because they're going to price everything by component.
Yeah, everything should change, and not everything has it?
That would go. Well, maybe it will. Maybe it will when it comes up, and it's. Mind you, said it.
Variant, another variant. They'll do another variant.
They'll colour it and make it limited. Yeah.
That's the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny version of the Titan Avengers coming.
It collects
an
eggs.
extra $50. But that would be my argument. Like, why I would kind of like get. I can understand why people get a little myself kind of go. Oh, I feel like they price people a little bit out of that game mechanic. Too early, it's like I just feel like we do know that obviously there's going to be tier 0 or tier 1 will be probably handheld tools and stuff, so I'm guessing maybe like it could be like a Titan suit, for example, will be able to do the tier 0 version of picking up, hauling things and moving things around, I guess, because that's kind of what this shows in that picture where he's picking up the box and moving them around. Or the Argo is kind of meant to be that, right? Is that what I'm thinking? The Argo is the first one of that.
You had the Argo, which was like a personal transport. Well, say Argo. Sorry, Argo is the manufacturer. So I keep getting that wrong. I don't actually know what the ship was called because we used to call them Cargo Argo and
Cargo Argo.
So one was for cargo and one was for picking.
Yeah,
had a pod on the bottom of it basically where it picked up the pod, and it would be for cargo.
How much is that little bad boy? Is that like about $50?
Yeah, they were about 50-ish, something like that. I think 50, 60.
So that would be, in theory, that's meant to be your entry into that type of role, and then you would then save up enough money. Then you obviously then go up again to the next level, which is this one. I still think it's $50 too much. It's my honest truth. I still think it's $30-$50 too much. I think it should be $100 maximum, you know. But to be fair, the game is still ludicrous in terms of the way that they price everything, and that's just the way it is. You know, it's like
I think once we get like ship renting and more ways of making money in game and stuff, the whole idea of the actual cost of the ships will just go out the window, because they're really only for people who want to support the game or want to buy into the game for the first time. Yes. Eventually, we will get away from the amount of like the price ships cost. There has to be a bar, like you said, set somewhere.
Yeah.
For the price of ships in game and out of game. So now they've set it. I just don't think about what it costs because I don't expect to buy another ship. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's a smart thing to do. On truth, it's like we talk about it on the show because, like, at the end of the day, it's a topic, and some people, you know, it's. But the truth is, I think we're all probably in agreement. At the end of the day, we are fundamentally like with, you know, there's 600 or 500 something odd staff, plus an extra 100 coming, plus, you know, 3 studios, plus we want to get the game finished, plus the fact that they've got a shit ton of years left.
Complete scam
to do this. We want them to do it. So the truth is, we know that they need to make money, and that's it. So it's like, I don't necessarily like it, but no one's holding a gun against my head and saying, you can't buy it. I don't want it. It's not the type of ship I'll buy, so I won't buy it.
Not holding a gun yet. Give it time.
I'll get the Super Hornet Heartseeker instead. You know?
the mega one, the mega Hornet.
You know, and that's
unfriended.
That's time I get to play Anthem. No, I need friends. I need friends for Anthem. It's too hard on my own. Such a hard game. It is, yeah. Like I play on hard anyway, but
Are you playing on hard?
Yeah, always.
Oh, okay.
Always got to get used to hard. Like I always set everything to difficult. I always say set everything to a high standard, and then whatever you're playing, try and set it to the highest standard that you can possibly. So it's uncomfortably hard, and then see if you can cope for a period of time with a game. If you can, obviously, then bring it down a little bit, but stay strong. And you know, it's like a resistance. It's like when people do exercises and weights and stuff, they carry extra weights to try and push them. It's the same type of thing as that. It's like just play a little bit harder, and it sets.
I'm always lazy.
Hard. Yeah. Well, I've grown a bit too lazy these days. Hence the beard. Hide the double chin, motherfuckers.
CRP Jester is going to spend his money on IL-2 or StarCitizen ships.
That's a silly question, isn't it?
Can you buy separate planes for IL-2 then? Wasn't aware of that.
What's he saying?
No, it's just 4 sentences from below.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Debating on what to spend money on. The IL-2 or the Star Citizen ships.
Okay. Or beard.
Always.
Got a nice flight model, IL-2.
Yeah. Okay, IL-2 it is then.
So, actually, let me see if I can get you guys.
Sorry. That's good.
Sorry.
We waited for you.
Yeah, welcome back, Miserable.
Get beer. You can't just sit here and not have beer.
He's back now. Let's carry on.
Okay, yeah. So here we go. So here's a topic of conversation. So, okay, this is about the flight mod a little bit. Okay, so this is some people were talking about this on the Reddit section. I picked it up, and they were talking about the Cartharol. Actually, no, it was on Spectrum. Sorry, and they were talking about the UI fixed in the next update. So the update will be fixed. And that's great for people who like the UI. I mean, in my opinion, the Cartharol is supposed to have they talked about having a clear bars, because everyone that's ever flown in the Cartharol, it's probably got one of the worst cockpits because it has 2 huge bars that come straight down the front. It's got a beautiful animation. It's a gorgeous looking ship, and they completely ruin it by having 2 bars that go right across the front of the screen. Now, strut, they just, it's just, but they talked about making it
struts
see-through. And then they said they couldn't do it. But now they're bringing that see-through back in with the Prowler, so they obviously can do it. So in my head, it's like, well, okay, they should bring that definitely back in for the car.
Does it mean see-through struts?
Yeah, so you can see through the struts, so you won't.
So it's kind of like a glass. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is the shit. Yeah. You can't. It really does need it. But here's my main thing for me is like, at the moment, the ship, the way that it handles and flies isn't particularly. It's still pretty poor for what it should be. Amazing. when the flight model comes in 3.5, I am hoping, and I definitely pray, because they still haven't introduced, obviously, the Santa Coya, and we have no idea when that's coming in, is the Carthrall should be flying circles around most of the other combat ships.
Yeah, in space,
Yeah. And they really should. It's missing 2 more guns. It's missing at least either add another gun and make it a 3-gun fighter, so it's similar to that of a light fighter like a Gladius or a Arrow. I don't understand why, if this is meant to be an equivalent light fighter like a from an alien race, similar to it needs to have 3 size 3 hard points on it.
Well, it's not, was it? It's a scout. It's not really a light fighter.
Well, it's meant to be light if you think about it, because the next one up is the medium, so it's meant to be like a kind of like a saber.
Maybe they'll have another one in between. But I mean, technically, it was meant to be a scout.
Well, they dropped
that. To me, a scout isn't. A
what do they say? It's a scout? Do they say
a scout? Yeah, that's what it was always sold as.
Still, yeah, but then my worry is like we're not getting
it's labeled a light fighter on the ship matrix, though. That's probably there
because they don't have a scout section.
I don't know what they're talking about, Miz, do they? They have no idea.
They don't have a clue, do they?
They haven't got
this fucking CIG.
Miserable, you just banned CIG Jester.
Did I?
They have no idea.
Didn't I ban Stream Jar?
Oh, he streamed Banjo.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm reading that wrong.
Yeah,
my fault.
I'm always doing that.
Sorry, Jester.
Continue.
Banning our stream team.
I didn't. I banned the bot. I don't even know how it got back in my channel. To be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, all I can say is it was sold as a scout. If they reclass it as a light fighter, then yeah, it should match the other light fighters. But who freaking knows? I mean, their argument wasn't it, that it had a hell of a lot more maneuverability, so that's why it's maybe got less gun power. But I mean, the problem is, and this was we were talking about with Madness the other day. It's like, again, it goes to the new flight mechanics, because at the moment so many ships move like they're just butterflies and they're just all over the place, easily maneuverable. And so that advantage that it had, it doesn't feel like it's got that advantage, and perhaps that's going to change when the new flight mechanics come.
I think its advantage is on a different axis, isn't it? Whereas, well, this is like technically an aerodynamic ship in atmosphere has to, I don't even know what the axes are, but it can have to turn on its side to fucking veer off.
Roll.
Whereas the Catual, has to roll to get out of action. Whereas the Catual can sort of zoom around really quick. But in atmosphere, I don't know how the Catual is going to fly. It'll be interesting to see. And if it can, and if it can actually sort of strafe as it should do in atmosphere, well, that would be a really cool, different style of fighting. But in space, it should also do the same thing because of the IFCS affecting real ships, normal ships.
They have talked about it, I think it's in the Q&A for the Santa Coy, which is obviously its big brother. They've talked about that it can have different flight states. So you know how it has the animation at the moment where as it takes off, it rotates and all the thing does a really cool animation, yeah? So they've talked about this ship potentially doing something similar. This is just on the cards. This is not like, it's not like confirmed or anything, but this is one of the things that was in the Q&A for the Santa Coya, and they did talk about this, I think briefly. They talked about potentially having flight states. So you could go into flight animation, go into atmosphere, and it could change the angle. So everything, rather than being all like a big square box, which is where it's now, it would then rotate forward and obviously then become more streamlined, like a normal, and then you would, then how that would work would be fascinating. You'd almost look like a drone, because you'd have all the thrusters would have
backwards, don't they? And the nose sticks out. It looks kind of that way. It's quite interesting to see it fly in that angle. Would be pretty cool.
I so can't wait to see some of these ships and how they fly when they introduce them. They must already know, like they said, the Reliant is going to be a nightmare.
No, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. You're going to make it nice and flat. It's going to be like a normal modern-day plane. It's going to be beautiful. Because it's so lovely now. It's such a fantastic ship.
Yeah.
Someone please clip that, please. I need that. I need that as a permanent repeat on loop.
Hopefully, if it does come in 3.5, we can use that as a perfect example of how the Reliant flies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's like because we're not getting certain ships in, like that one for me is super important for the flight model. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, yeah, it's so important that they make sure that not just the UI is fixed, but that whole ship flies and is it gives us something really, really special to really show off the difference of the flight model. Because otherwise,
Catual remake incoming.
we don't have the other
now
one.
with 2 seats. I don't know, it'll be a Valentine's one
Yeah.
next year, and it'll have 2 seats.
Yeah.
Why didn't they bring out the Avenger
For
trainer
Halloween.
for Valentine's Day? The 2-seated Avenger. That would have been a perfect opportunity to bring that out.
That's what someone said. You're advertising this perfect romantic ship for one. It's like, come on, you could have.
Super
at
Hornet's
least
a
had
2-seater?
What's that?
Turret in it. It's not, is it?
What?
No, it's
It's
Super
still
Hornet's
a 2-seater. 2-seater. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that one. I thought the turret section replaced the seat on that one. Or
No,
is that
no,
on
no.
another variant?
No, it's 2 seats.
No.
It's always had 2 seats.
Okay, I'm wrong.
When was the last time you got in a Super Hornet, mate?
When was the last time you logged into the game,
I've never
miserable?
been in a Super Hornet actually.
No.
Not in
Okay.
my yeah.
You can join my Heartseeker when I get it. No worries. Feel
I will
free.
take you with me. I'm already have my Super
Oh, look
Hornet
at
again.
all these dates now. I was just fishing
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
date, really. There's only one seat in it. You can come on mine.
Yeah.
Should have called it the Heartstopper.
Heartstomper.
Has more effect.
Not for a Valentine's thing.
Oh yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear love, I'm going to stop your heart.
Could you? Can you imagine? That's such a great thing to take your missus. That's like Moy saying, "Hang on, good day. Jump on in, love. Jump in. We're going to go and wreck people at Jump Town for our day."
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, love. Lots of fireworks.
I bet there's
Yeah,
lots
so
of
who's
ladies
gonna
out there
be-
that like that.
Who's going to be Goose? Who's going to be Maverick?
Who's gonna get goosed? That's the real question.
Well, Goose is getting goosed.
I'm going to be the extra at the back, 3 rows back that you didn't know. You didn't know who his handle is. That one. That's who I'll be. That's me. Oh yes, the Vanduul artwork. This is a little sneaky one, guys. I don't know if anyone saw this on Reddit.
Oh,
This
you
is
had a leak.
49 on the. Oh, hang on, wrong one. Sorry, old. That's the old one. That's the old one. Look, we've got a new brand. They've got this wonderful new thing. 13 Vanduul 13 on the soap thingy forum finds. Check this if you've got it. This is the new. I don't know if it's new. I think it's pretty new. I think it's new. Yeah, looks pretty new to me.
The
I haven't
Vanduul
seen
look like
it
the
before.
updated Vanduul.
That was on something. That was in the email, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was
That's
in the
that's a
message
different
to
type
email
of-
I had.
Yeah, that's a
not
different
leak.
type of Vanduul. That's was it Skirmisher or? Let me just check my emails. Hang on.
We
So-
had a Squadron 42 email that had a lot.
Yeah,
of...
it's the monthly update, isn't it? That that you can sign up for. Tell me you've signed up for that one.
Yeah, that's where I got it.
So
I
this
even Go on.
so I was going to say about the lore on the Vanduul. So everyone knows that obviously the more armor a Vanduul wears, supposedly, they're not. The less armor you wear, the more badass you are, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's called the Menacer. It's the Vanduul Menacer.
So it's basically.
But yeah, that's true. The Vanduul earns its stripes by, well, as it sort of sheds its armor. The more, if you see a Vanduul completely naked, do not approach. Because
I
it will
won't.
probably
Anyway,
mind.
If
I don't
he
need
is
to be
good or
told
bad,
that.
I won't approach a naked
Yeah.
Vanduul. Trust me.
Words of advice.
Whereas if you find one in full armor, just go straight up to him and kick him in
Yeah,
the nuts.
kick him in the
shins. Yeah. You are nothing. You're nothing, buddy. I got you.
Look at
It's
all your
cold in
armor. You
space.
suck. So if it's... I like
Oh,
all this
Jesus.
like webbing effects. I don't know. Is that meant to be on them or is it the armor? Like on the arms.
Well,
and
their
stuff, and
armor's
there's
built
a little
into
bit
them,
on
isn't
the
it?
Hand. Yeah. Kind of like,
Yeah,
almost like a
don't-
spike. There with
when you
webbing
punch
around
you.
as well.
I can't
supposed
wait
to
for them to be roaming around as well, Techno Spoon. I can't
Yeah.
wait to.
Have the bioluminosity sort of glowing. If you just see one, do you remember that scene in one of the modern Star Wars where was it? I think it was Darth Vader. It might not have been Darth Vader. It might have been Kylo Ren. Where they're in, no, it was Darth Vader. Where they're in the pitch black alleyway or corridor of a ship, and then all you see is Darth Vader be lit up by his sword.
Rogue One, the last 3 minutes that made the movie amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can just imagine you standing in a dark corridor thinking, I've heard a noise, and then you see a Vanduul's luminosity of its bioluminosity just glow, and it's staring at you, and then it disappears again as its body stops glowing, and you think, yeah, let's get out of here. He was naked.
Well, I've said this. I did this on the
naked.
podcast a long time ago, and if anyone remembers, Chris Roberts did a movie. I think it's called Outlander or something like that.
Outlander. Yeah.
And there's an alien race which is very similar to the dogs of. It feels very much like an animal that the Vanduul would keep as a pet or something. And it has like a kind of, it does the bioluminescent. It glows red when it's kind of like on the hunt and stuff, and it kind of its face and its whole glow, the whole face does this thing. Basically, it's the Vanduul technology. The way the Vanduul do this stuff, it's a precursor to that. We've done it on the podcast actually a long time ago. I clipped it and put it up and said Chris Roberts only got one idea. I think it seems to be.
Wasn't he just a producer on that, or did he actually direct that?
I think he was. It must have been heavily involved. I think because it just screamed. Like when I got into the Vanduul and saw what he was doing with the Vanduul, and I was like, I've seen this before. And then I went and read up on it, and I was like, oh, Chris Roberts did this. Oh, okay, that makes total sense now. I was like, that makes total sense. Like, it just does. You know, because I know for a fact that I only ever have one idea that I regurgitate in life. So it's once you've got one good idea, people, that's all you need.
I mean, you are a shoe designer, which is basically the same thing, but keep reiterating the pattern around it. So
yeah. That's pretty much all you need.
It's still a shoe.
That's all you need.
There you go. It's one idea.
That's one idea. You just figure out new ways to make it different.
Today the red stripes on the front. Tomorrow the red stripes on the back. No, I'm just kidding. He does great work. I'm only winding him up.
It's totally the same idea repeated. I would never argue with that at all. So, and here's another one. This is something I found out, and I found out on Reddit a long time ago. We never managed to get around to it because there's many other things. But what has happened to the FaceWare FOIP camera?
I know.
CIG's track record is.
Was it January?
Yeah, like what the fuck? That was like it's been almost a year, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, I expected that to come with the release of VoIP.
Like, do you think? Like just like the joystick before it, and I feel like they've fallen onto like some serious.
Well, the joystick, the controller scheme was down to Mad Catz going bust. Yeah. That wasn't CIG's. I mean, technically, you could sort of blame them in a sense because they should have maybe foreseen it. I don't know how business works in that regard, but that was Mad Catz going tits up. This is another third party. I don't know why we haven't seen any of it yet. I would
think
expect
they're just waiting for the optimization of FOIP.
It could be. It could be that they think let's get it to a decent working version and then we'll introduce it. But fuck knows.
Yeah.
Did you buy? Could you buy it? My point was, like, could people have? Was this another one of these Kickstarter things where people throw money down on this? No. Okay, thank God. All right, then that's okay then.
Who's bought one? Fuck.
I got 5. No, this was just. I mean, don't forget that the company was working on the technology as well. It wasn't just the camera. The camera was like an additional.
They have a whole range of stuff
that was supposed to make the technology better.
Yeah.
It could be that they could be waiting for it to be working well in StarCitizen, because otherwise you don't want to push your product and then people use it and go, well, this is shit, and blame the camera when it's not necessarily the camera. It might be the integration of the actual the software in the game.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know, and it's a shame because it would like to at least hear something, because I think it was just before Christmas they were having this like sign up so that if you wanted to be a trial or a tester. So I mean, I haven't heard anything back on that, and it's potentially, if people have, I don't know whether it would be under NDA, because it normally is with these, like when the Elgato gives stuff out to streamers and that, it's under NDA for a while. So there could well be people using it and testing it, and we wouldn't know. It'd be maybe like under an NDA prototype tests at the moment.
Don't forget that Brian, was it just before Christmas, holiday season, that he hinted about that it was coming soon? An announcement, which we totally didn't get.
That's the problem. They say coming soon, and then 2 months later.
Then you know enough, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I was just curious. It's one of those things that were like, it was something somebody said, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, like where is that? Like I'm sure that we kind of due a bit of an update on the status of.
Yeah.
Like maybe they've decided, like you said, they've come up with a better technology, and then maybe they want to make a better camera. Technology moves on so quickly in that.
It was advertising all this working in really low light and everything else. So if they're having issues with that, or they want to tweak that, I suppose it could be anything that's kind of delaying it. It'd be nice to hear an update, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's again down to the faults of CIG is the lack of communication. They don't ever mention it again until we have like 1,000 people petition to say, can you just say anything about it? And then it's just if they know something, just say, oh, by the way, this is delayed because of this. When we hear more, we'll let you know.
Even if even say it was getting prototype tests, no one has to talk about it. But surely you can say these. We know it's coming. It's not like Elgato when they do a secret product that's tested. We know it's coming. So it'd be nice to even say, look, some prototypes have gone out and they're now in testing stage. That would be nice to just know, so we know that some people have got it or something. But I don't know. Hopefully it won't fall. I mean, I was holding off on getting because I got 2 of the same Logitech cameras, which we all know is a load of fucking fun trying to set those up at the same time. So I was kind of waiting because they said that this one was going to be out soon. I thought it was going to be out before Christmas. Then it was like, okay, maybe in January, and it's just gone out the way. So I was waiting for one to potentially see the.
I was. Before I bought the Logitech camera, I was thinking, right, well, FOIP's set to come out this time. I would expect them to launch it with FOIP, but it never happened.
Well, I'm not even sure anymore if I will actually buy one. Because the new
mic drop
feeling about whole FOIP is just, seen
You're
it,
not a fan.
done it, and
pulled the faces, don't care.
I have to admit that was going to be obvious, wasn't it? I mean, I knew that was going to be the case. Like, it's only so long you can go
right. And it's fun for another one because he sees your face. I'm not seeing my face all the time.
Yeah, that's true. It's only if if they're using it, it's any good for you.
If they would have released it sooner, I would have bought one. That's how it works. I'm quite an emotional buyer. But yeah, it is.
You're a StarCitizen backer. Are you serious?
Yeah, true.
No. No.
Back StarCitizen, he thought it was going to be out soon.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Never a truer spoken.
We're all emotional now after fucking 6 years of development.
No.
Yes. But you would have got one. But now you're not going to get one, Bok, you were saying, because you just think that it's like going in the shopping line and you have to wait in a huge queue for ages. By the time you kind of get to the halfway point in the queue, you kind of
No.
I don't really need this packet of Skittles. No, fuck it. I'm going to go. And then you leave the queue.
I've seen it now with my second webcam, and it's fun and all, but it's not really the top priority for me playing the game with VoIP on.
I mean, the reason I would get it is because I'm using 2 webcams anyway, and having 2 the same, they clash. So it would be potentially doing it because A, it's made for it, but B, it's just a second webcam. That would be but if it's stupidly priced, which is probably quite potential.
I guarantee you that when you have one, there will be a time that you will forget to turn it on, and you forget about it.
And everyone's like, why aren't you smiling at me anymore? Did I do something to offend you?
No. I think everybody will get used to it and slowly forgets.
They need to figure out the tongue aspect of it. I hate to say
so you can stick your tongue out. Yeah.
They need to figure that out. It's tricky. But they need to figure it out.
What's that thing that Toby used? The
animal thing.
Yeah. Face
rig. That's the one. They managed to eventually get it so that you could stick your tongue out, and it was
race
a bit
thing.
Weird.
I think they just need to. Yeah, they do need that, just that little bit extra. But like I say, it's it's like anything. It's like virtual reality and all these other things. It's like first implementation. Usually, like I never like anything that's the first of anything. I don't know about you guys, like in chat or whatever, but I never buy the first. I applaud the people that do. Congratulations, I love you because you guys test that stuff. I don't appreciate
Thanks, guys.
I really do appreciate
very
it.
well,
but I don't do it. Yeah, I just don't do it. It's just like the people who are buying these new GLXLR or whatever they're called, mixers and stuff. Thank you. I salute you. We may buy them. I may buy one, or I might buy the second one, the next version, which is even better. And the one that you
XLR.
Once they've figured out all the bugs and everyone's given them all the feedback, it's like, yes, we'll take version 2 of that one. Thank you.
That though, I mean, like the Stream Deck, I was expecting that to happen, and there was going to be a new Stream Deck, but they haven't. It's been quite a while now with just the one Stream Deck, but it does fucking do what it's supposed to do. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
So
it is very good. It is very good. Next thing actually I have here, which is something I wanted to talk about, which is about vegetation. within the game of StarCitizen, because obviously we're going to be getting Ark. We're getting another city, another big city, which is obviously very industrialized, very kind of hard edges and all the rest of it. Then we're getting Microtech, which is another snowy planet, from what I can tell from the pictures. So very minimal on the vegetation, it seems.
Well,
and I noticed
we saw a little snippet, didn't we, of like a forest.
Did we? Did they show us a forest?
Of Microtech. Yeah, like
yes.
a pine
yes,
forest.
They did. Yes, they did. Sorry. This is where I'm going back weeks on this comment, so I think I remember now. But this is where it comes to me. Like somebody was talking about, they were saying how wonderful they thought the vegetation within StarCitizen was. And then I was kind of like, okay. And then I got being started to play Anthem. And, that is just like pure glorious vegetation and greenery, and I played The Witcher, and I've played loads of other games from console to PC games recently, and from, like I said, Red Dead Redemption, all the rest of it, and I'm thoroughly impressed with the variety that these supposedly inferior games to StarCitizen produce. Incredible vegetation and lush looking worlds. Yes, some of them are single player, I understand that. But they still create beautiful, graphics and beautiful vegetation games. And this person was just so hyped about a cactus, and I didn't really want to kind of like. And I was just wondering, yeah, it was so hyped about a cactus, and I was kind of like, I don't want to like rain on that. I was like, that's cool, like it looks really good when you zoom in closer as well, and it looks really good and stuff. But I was like, do you think that StarCitizen backers and stuff are kind of sometimes it's like a starving man that gets a packet of roasted peanuts after ages? Look, these are like the best peanuts I've ever had in the world. These are like incredible peanuts. They're just
until
normal
he realizes
peanuts.
he's got a peanut allergy and kills everyone.
Yeah. But it's just
no peanuts allowed on the plane.
But you know what I mean? It's like because you've been
just because we're finally seeing vegetation, is it because it's StarCitizen vegetation? I think so. I think it's part of that. Yeah. I do. I know they've said about getting Crisis. The best vegetation I've ever seen is Kingdom Come, when you've got like a torch candlelight or whatever lantern, and you can see the plants. I'm like, whoa! I spend the whole time roaming forests,
Forest with the sand dunes and stuff, and the roots that are coming out, and
that is gorgeous. Just phenomenal. Gorgeous. So StarCitizen vegetation is okay. I'd say 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
but I know they've
go as far as 8 out of 10. Not when you see flying through Anthem and the different colors and variation and lighting
and lots of blooming.
Is nothing like StarCitizen's. I know it's a different atmosphere and a different thing, but I agree. We did talk about this before and how people are getting overhyped with what we've seen so far, and I'm hoping that no doubt we'll get to this sort of Anthem level of vegetation, but we're not there yet. Yeah, Anthem does.
We do know it's got. We do know it has the loading screens, but like you can't. I mean, we could get into a big debate about the loading screens of sitting in an airplane for 12 minutes whilst you fly into Lorville or whatever, or you spend another 2 minutes coming down into Lorville, or spending another 2 minutes in an elevator, or you can, especially as we now have obviously bind culling and all these other things. You could argue, anyway. Like I said, it's not a question of. I'm not saying that StarCitizen won't get there. I just sometimes think that people it just feels sometimes I do kind of it's make me chuckle inside when I see people make comments about how amazing, and I kind of go, "You not played another game for a while, buddy, have you?" Because there's some really good games out there on their vegetation and their graphics and the visuals.
I think it's more the scope, isn't it? It's a case of you can render that quality level of vegetation in a map that's fits into an asteroid on Daymar. That's the point.
Technical.
The masterpiece of a technical masterpiece that they've created. And if they can create crisis level sort of forests, like what Chris has said, which if you look at the vegetation now, I can see that happening. I don't think it's quite going to be at the level of Kingdom Come, but it doesn't need to be. I'm quite impressed with the level it's at. And it's the fact that it's on this little planet that you can zoom out of and then go past and fucking all the way to Arcor, and that's what's impressive, and that's why I think people are getting amazed. But I do think there is some sort of beer goggles going on as soon as CIG put, and I have them. As soon as CIG put anything out, I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. And then you think, well, actually they're doing it, but not as well as that to that scale.
Yeah, I mean, don't get us wrong. Like we are, trust me, we've been watching this game and we're all gamers. We've all played lots of games. Like you're all jump straight on it and check. Oh, it's a small map. We know it's cinematic renders. Some of it, we know some of it. But the point is, like that's what Madness is kind of hitting at. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. No, it's not amazing. It's good. And they know it's only their first iteration as well. I think part of it is we can't wait for it to get to the stage where it's going to be more crisis level. We know they'll get there because they keep talking all the time how they. So a good one that we were talking about in ATV was the armor suits. They said it was like it wasn't new armor, it wasn't new technology, but they taught the designers and the artists how that they can design their stuff better so that it would use resources less. And it's a case of doing that. It's like what we're talking about is seeing these vegetation is great. What we want to see is better vegetation, which we will get. It might not. We know it's not necessarily going to be on this level.
Better vegetation.
It was hard to say that one.
Better vegetation.
Still use a lot of but interior.
Also, if they make the vegetation harvestable, then even more so.
Ooh, it is coming.
That's they've mentioned that in the core tech, but being able to take that cactus and take off a piece and it still be at that sort of level of fidelity, it would be quite impressive if you have a piece of cactus lying around and you think, I can interact with that. I can actually pick that cactus up, throw it at Miserable, and it would go and stick in his head.
Why would you do that?
But here's the thing is like, do you think again, this comes back, this is always the biggest fidelity, this is always the biggest kind of conversation piece at StarCitizen in terms of, like, do you think that they try a bit too hard to make it so fidelity when they could maybe like rein it up a little bit so they could have
because
more?
When you look at the suits, you zoom in, don't you? And you can see all the thread count and the facial pores and
it's
everything
nuts.
else. So it's like when you see that compared to the vegetation, that's when it's like, well, it's not.
It's like every scene. This comes back to when I did like visual effects and stuff for film. Okay, now there in film, there's something called the money shot scene, effectively, which is where all the money goes because this is the close-up scene that you see on screen. But for the rest of the movie, there is tons of visual effects and stuff that is done in the background, which no one ever sees. And trust me, say for example, okay, I'll bring up let me see if I can bring up a physical object to give you an example. Okay, like these sunglasses. Okay. So, like in visual effects, for example, like if this was a scene, like, and I'm at this distance away from kind of like the screen or whatever, like you don't need the polys at very high resolution, the rest of it. You know what I mean? You really don't. So they don't make it so it's very high resolution. But when the money shot comes into effect, which is like this close, and you have to have all the details and everything else, that's when obviously you do have obviously everything rendered up to a high level. Vans, sponsored by Vans, and. We need to get $2,000, guys. We need to get $2,000. It's start sponsoring. And like, I sometimes like I wonder this is what whole bind culling and all the rest of it and kind of things like that within the film industry. And I just kind of go, it's that neat like when to cheat and when not to cheat type of thing. You know what I mean?
There's a couple of points that I think about. What they tend to do is. They try to get the best visual quality and then they will reduce that until they find a good medium between quality and performance. Yeah. And that's important. Rather than sort of starting small and going up until they feel like they've got a good balance. They start at the top and then reduce it. But also places like ArtCorp with this, like this is what got me about the whole traffic issue that, this whole traffic that you see around ArtCorp. That to me was like the first time I've really ever seen StarCitizen fake it as such, and that kind of played on my mind. I was like, I don't want them to fake it. I totally
agree. It's like when they sort of start, you're going, you're what? You're going to make it look shit at this level, and then it's.
I want real vehicles flying around on that planet surface, and then I think, well, actually, that needs to be rendered. That needs to be, created. So performance-wise, it's not going to happen. And as miffed as I am about seeing them fake the traffic, and every time I fly over ArtCorp, I'm going to be like, oh, that's fucking faked.
Fuck you, fake.
Yeah, I get the necessity for it, Yeah.
But that's just the thing. Is just like I think, and this is where I come back to. Like I don't have an issue with fake, like effectively to point to a point.
I bet you don't.
I generally don't have too much issues.
I'm sorry, but I'm a real person. Okay, they need to be real and natural.
But But I do remember like a lot of what was sold as StarCitizen is like, when Chris, if you go back to some of the older videos, I think he came across like, it always felt, and I'm going to be careful with what I say here because people misquote me, but there was always a sense of like, we won't fake anything. Do you know what I mean? It was like, this will be, we're going to make this as realistic as possible. Nothing's going to be fake. Everything's going to be this. And, we want it to be this, this, and this. And then I feel that actually the truth of the matter is I think finally they've realized that they actually have to fake some stuff. They actually have to, like for the time being, they can because they need to make ground to move forward. They can't just keep constantly be stuck. You know what I mean? They have to move forward.
I get it. Maybe they'll approach it later
on.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's in a way, I kind of hope they do because like you say, they have said we don't fake anything, and I can I did kind of feel a bit they're faking it.
It's like these
but
cars
it might be a place.
Same speed, same gap between each other. No one's ever
that one's passing through each other. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they've all got the same lights on them, but but no.
But if I flew down there quick enough, I could literally hit those lights and be like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, that's the one thing I thought when they said ArtCorp and they said faking that. I was like, well, what if I come down and try and zoom through, and then you're going to see all the buildings have got no windows on because it was just rendered lights or something.
We basically had the question last week about we can't fly low enough, but can we actually drive through the streets?
Yeah.
Well,
which I don't think will
be your answer.
Well,
you
no.
Oh, yeah.
They did sort of say that the ATC will kick on, the automated system will kick in rather than just blow you up. So if you take an address and fly as fast as you can down to the surface, what is it, about 400 meters? I'm pretty sure if you're at like 1,000, or it won't be 1,000 meters a second because the atmosphere will kick in, but whatever it is, I reckon you can get quite close before the ATC goes, holy fuck, it brings you back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but we were thinking not flying, but just driving around with your Cyclone, whatever.
I would love to be able to drive between Area 18 to Area 19 or 17.
But that's not going to happen for now because they put...
No. Or there'll be a track so you can follow the main through road. I think that's what will happen.
And keep it on a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a bit, if you were around when ArtCorp first came out and it was a social hub, like the amount of time we spent glitching through windows. So because it was like, a freelancer on a pad. Let's go and have a look at that freelancer. And it's not until you glitch out the window,
shake around
the pad,
a bit,
and it's like, there's this
an empty hole.
Isn't really.
But also, the way that they created the ships in that environment were just empty husks. They were just the outside geometry at a very low poly that would fly past. So I would expect eventually they may find a way of making it so that the ground vehicles driving on the roads will be these. So you'll be able to distinguish that that's an Ursa, that's a Cyclone, that one right at the back's a Grey Cat, obviously. I reckon they'll eventually get to that point. But yeah, I was just sort of like, eh.
But here's the thing: this is where I wonder with the technology, where they're trying to get to a state where everything is built and designed to a super high level, and the computer algorithms determine what becomes, like you said, or what I was saying about like a full money or a reduced NPC piece. Does that make sense? Or like a husk or a shell. It can tell from your distance from whatever object, and it will render it in at a certain level. So it's like
level of details, bind filling, sort of.
Yeah.
If
the algorithm knows exactly, like a fancy way of bind coloring, effectively. But everything is made incredibly real. You know what I mean? Everything's made. Everything is completely able to go into, effectively rendered inside, outside, whatever. I know that's a crazy amount of work, but procedurally generated. But the algorithm can determine, the bind coloring or whatever, the optimization can determine how high level poly or whatever that is. I mean, I don't know game making, but that's kind of like in my head would be super freaking cool.
I reckon there's probably a way to do that. I would like to think, but for me to try and think that up is I'd rather just sit there and have a beer.
Same.
Back to the professionals.
I think CIG has proven to come up with these amazing techniques or whatever ideas to make that possible. But for this, they don't have it right now.
They're not working hard enough, are they? They're not working hard enough.
Clearly not. Clearly,
you shouldn't take any breaks. They should figure this shit out before they go on holiday.
what we're talking about things that look good though. What I will say is like StarCitizen. Like I've seen lots of people do it. Like if you grade StarCitizen, like you would do a film and stuff. God, it looks good. Like holy hell, it looks good. I mean, it looks good even not graded. But if you color grade it, like to even just a small smidgen, like you can't. It is hard to tell sometimes if it's not like a movie or a TV. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, it's spoiling other games for me, and the trouble is I can't really play it and enjoy it too much at the moment. So I don't want to play anything else because I want to play Star Citizen, but I can't quite play Star Citizen yet. It's catch-22, isn't it?
The videos that we were getting from the what was it, the Cyclone advert?
Yeah, the Hashkahar thing.
Hashkahar.
The stuff we're getting already is just amazing, and like you said, the screenshots. Sometimes I look at it and go, "Well, I've taken a screenshot. It doesn't look anything like that." But there's the amount of detail and quality you're getting from a load of these. Like you said, it is like high-rendered films, and it's amazing. So
the new professionals.
Yeah,
you know what's funny about that
in the community?
Like some of that advert, like when I watched some of that advert. Now this is like me comparing it though. Like, I saw that advert and I was like, "That's pretty good." But then when I was thinking about racing games, because I was thinking of like Forza and those other games, again, when you see the replay videos of those vehicles and cars driving around on like, towns and roads and like in London and all the rest of it, I hate to say it, but it looks better. Like it does look better than the Hasgar video. I'm sorry to say. I'm trying not to, in terms of.
But that's not his video, is it? I mean, you're limited to work within what StarCitizen is allowing you to do, and like the animations aren't quite there. The jumpiness, the cars don't. Even the flight mechanics affecting the car, it doesn't move how it should. That's just
on the visual side of it. But what you didn't get,
been built with special. Replay video cameras, haven't they? But I totally agree with what you're saying. It's but I think like if you look at some of the earlier day people that were making videos, and I did some in the early days as well, like it was far worse. Like trying to get your character to walk, and it would just like stumble and things like that. So you can definitely see like the progress in these videos, and I imagine it's just going to get better and better. And it'll be interesting to see, like we saw that advert with the drone as the webcam a long time ago when they were showing off the picture-in-picture, and with the Mako, I know we're not going to get the mechanics straight away, but when the Meccano, fuck's sake. Anyway, that one. When the ship comes in and you'll be able to have the drone cameras and stuff, the Mako, that's the one I was trying to think of. I really hope we'll get like these sort of drone cameras that can even like attach to stuff, so that you can do that sort of filming and record stuff, and because like it's meant to be more than it's not just a news reporting ship. It's supposed to be like a sort of way to stream the media. So it'd be interesting to see that.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
We're just that one. I do. I thought it was a good video. What I love about the videos, and what I've always loved about videos is just storytelling. I always think the best videos are the ones that tell a good story. And what that video, the cyclone and stuff was good. It was a fun story. It had a bit of energy. It was executed really well. There was another video where somebody did which I thought was actually really funny, where they had like a vehicle. I think it was the Grey Cat trying to go up a vertical slide, and they couldn't get up it. And then the cyclone came up and then continued to then drive past him, and they advertised it. I was like, that was really clever. But it's. The videos are incredible. StarCitizen is cinematic. Like we were talking about this. This kind of brings me to my, I suppose my soapbox section actually. Because last week I made a comment with somebody who commented on YouTube saying, "Madness, I'm waiting for you to post it up onto YouTube." I made a comment last week where I stated that Chris Roberts had said something along the lines of fidelity over fun. Now I'm going to correct myself and say I was wrong in my statement to say those words that came out of Chris Roberts' mouth, because I haven't found anything so far. Now I've looked at, there is a grand total so far of 150 YouTube videos to go through. Just from ATV, I've managed to get through about 7 or 8 of them. So I have quite a few more to get through before I can
research
officially do it.
sheet.
Yeah, I've done it. I like, but the problem is, I've even done the relay, and I typed in "fun" to try and find like quotes.
So
and
you
it's
really
just-
think Chris Roberts said fidelity
No.
over fun? Or
Okay,
fun over
so
fun?
He's always said he needs to strike a
So-
balance between
Yeah.
realism and fun.
Okay, now he didn't say that. Disco said that. Now he
Oh.
may have said that previously. Again, he may
Chris
have
has said it before, yeah.
He may have
This was
said it. I don't know.
Original speechman.
What
Speech.
does Disco
I'm
think?
sure he has. I'm sure he has because Disco quotes it in the context of conversation within the CIG office. So I would imagine absolutely he has. But I was looking. There's two videos. There are two videos which I've linked for which I think are just really fun videos. Just bear with me, guys. It's a little bit of a history trip, and there are going to be more. So
I want to know
I'm
where
not
this is leading.
claiming. I'm not claiming defeat just yet. But what I will do is to say is I am more than likely incorrect on, and it's very easy to sometimes put your own, like you like words onto somebody else when they have because of their actions rather than what they've said. So if, for example, like I've always felt that there seems to be a real focus on fidelity, and I don't think anyone could argue that there has been a real focus on, you know, polish and making things look good. And then I think I then interpreted that as to indicate, hey, they're focusing on that more than fun, and then we've added that into the word. So I apologize for anyone, and I accept that I think I was wrong on that bit. Anyway, enough about that. This is really two really good videos. Actually, what's really funny is Mac commented on this video 2 years ago, which
I've been here a while.
and we'll do this one first. So in 1996, if anyone's never seen it, Chris Roberts did an interview. It's only a very brief bit, but he talks about it's the number 6. It's Chris Roberts 1996. He talks about StarCitizen, and he talks about his plans after the game. I think he made Freelancer or something with EA. And he talks about making a movie. And anyway, you can watch it for like 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. Let me bring it up on his thing.
Okay. I just find Mac's comment, which just says, the man, the legend, he knows his shit.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yep.
6. I'll stick to that.
Fucking years
Oh, there I am.
ago.
Yeah.
There you are.
Years
Yeah.
ago.
So that was in
How many-
1996. 12 years? Oh, no, hang on, wait. Something like 12 years before or something ridiculous like that? Before, or 16 years before he did actual StarCitizen Kickstarter? In 2012 he did Kickstarter, right?
How many upvotes have I got on that comment?
Yeah, 12 years. Oh, not that crazy. Can't do math.
4,
Upvotes? I don't know if you've got any. I can't tell.
5.
Rude.
But if you've never seen the video, well, I'll link it in chat for anyone, or you just type in interview with Chris Roberts from 1996. 16, yes, 6. Sorry, thank you. My math is terrible. I have this calculus, guys. I'm terrible with maths. 16 years. So 16 years, and listen to this. It's incredible.
Here we go.
Well, I'd like it to be without hitting the cost of the game.
Before he got stressed.
Well, obviously, I'm going to take a little bit of time off after finishing Wing Commander 4. I'm working on the sort of ideas and scripts for my future projects, and also, you know, the future structure of my deal with Electronic Arts. And I would definitely say that the next thing that I do is probably going to be, I'm going to probably do 2 things. I'm going to do a multiplayer strategy online kind of game, and I'm going to do a big interactive movie game. Oh, you know, me and Aaron get along really well. Yeah, well, he's working on the Darkening. I mean, he helped.
Is that it? Just that bit?
Yeah, that's it. That's
Video.
fine. This is it. There's more. We can link it up. Watch the video. It's a really
Beautiful
good.
game.
Honestly,
Wow. The man, the legend, he
it's-
knows his shit, doesn't he?
He knows his shit.
he talks about the multimedia. He talks about the multiplayer game a bit further on in the interview. He talks a bit more about it, and he talks, you know, very clearly. It was already there in his head. You know what I mean?
Darkening had cinematic clips and everything within the game as well. So, like you said, they've obviously had these ideas that have been bouncing around for a long time.
Was it Aaron that worked on that then? Did it say Aaron
Aaron
the
worked on
Aaron,
the
yeah.
Darkening,
darkness?
Yeah.
Darkness. I think I played that.
I did. Played it to fucking death, that game. we only had one PC, and we basically had to fight over it. To 3 of us, like, who's going to play that night, and it was just on it for like hours playing the fucking game. It was an awesome game.
Yeah.
But it's actually one of the only games I played of his. But there you go. So if you
Okay.
say speak to your 2-year self, Mac, what would you say?
Yeah. What would you say?
Don't do that. Do this instead. Pursue another career. This
Follow
isn't
a
going to
different
work.
game.
It's not-
Yeah.
buddy. Not gonna
Create Fortnite.
Yeah, that would have been a smart move too.
Create Fortnite, yeah.
Create Fortnite. That would have been a good one. Do Battle Royale. Create Battle Royale games.
Yeah, do Battle Royale games.
And lock it down with copyright. Lock it down with copyright. So
I might re-comment on my own comment there, telling me to create that.
He was talking about server meshing. Yeah, Matt. Like, it doesn't surprise me. Honestly, like, the genius. Like, clever people.
Probably the video I just I just posted.
Clever people out there. Here, so then the next one above it, this was an intro. Again, this was just going through. This was him when Chris Roberts talks about making it. This was just a short clip again that I thought was really critical to the way he thinks about StarCitizen. So yeah, this is the top one, the one above it. So Chris Roberts' interview wants to make a game as cool as possible. Now I know some of this might be repeats for some people, but there's always new people. So I thought this educates me as much as possible. Because I always have to. I think it's good to brain check.
My objective and goal is I want to make this game as cool as possible. I don't really care about making money. So all the money we can get in is really just about being able to hire the best programmers, the best artists, the best designers, and let them dream and build an even cooler and bigger world. So, I'm not really going to apologize for the concept sales for that, because for me it's just a way to make the game cooler and bigger, and ultimately I think everyone at the end of the day will be thankful of that. I mean, you wouldn't see a publisher invest this kind of money into this game with this much ambition, especially on the PC, and we're just doing it mostly because there's a community out there and a fan base out there that this is kind of their dream game, and they're willing to support it.
That was my point. Lucky.
Thankful for that, because it enables myself and the team here and the team in the other studios to deliver that. So it's just all about making the game as cool as possible. And, if a few more ships help make it even better, then great.
So fuck you, Bach.
So
that's pretty much
that was
what he's
closest
saying.
I
If I
could
want to
get.
sell a fucking another Super Hornet, I'll sell another fucking Super Hornet.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there was two whammies in that one. But the point where he talks about wanting to make a game as cool as possible, that was where that was the closest I could get to initially in kind of coming up with the idea that his focus is fidelity over fun. But I think that would be way too much of a leap in terms of words to kind of say that, because cool is very different to him. That's a huge leap for me. But cool isn't fun equally. Do you know what I mean? It's like cool is like what's cool to Chris.
Cool is various.
So it's like understanding what Chris's cool is.
It's cool to Chris. That's what he's always said, and that's what it'll always be. It's what he enjoys, and it'll be the same with the flight mechanics.
That's
like as much as you may or may not want it, it's what he deems as a cool flight mechanic.
Yeah. So it's
that's the game that I backed. I backed his game. The game that he wants to create. His vision. And there is going to be things that I don't agree with. Well, I don't know yet until I see it. That's the thing, and that's the concern. But that's also the excitement. With all these demos he shows and all the things he says about the future of StarCitizen is what excites me, because I know that's his final goal. The way it's going now, like as soon as we get a new flight model, everyone's like, "Oh, it's shit." As soon as we get a different flight model, it's shit. The point is, it's going to constantly get to the point until it gets to the point where Chris Roberts says, "This is good." I've frozen. There we go. I'm coming back.
There. I think the only negative to what he said, or at least that little interview, is it's almost like saying if I want to feature creep, this game will be forever in production, because that I want to let. So he said the money's going towards getting more developers in. If they come up with a cool idea, let them do their cool idea, which basically means, if it's a cool idea and we can stick it in the game, we'll stick it in the game, which could allow to delay after delay after delay, which potentially, I'm not saying we've had delays, because I do think a game takes a certain amount of time to develop, and the one on this scale, it's taking the right amount of time.
That was,
at the moment.
By the way, that was a 2014 interview. That last one, that was 2014. Okay,
so that was at Gamescom, wasn't it, or somewhere like that?
It was. They had an interview with someone, didn't he?
German. I think they were German. German website magazine.
And the final one, which is the final one, which was Disco, which was literally RTV, and I just clipped it because it's relevant. And this is to do with the sound guys, and they talk to the sound guys, and And Disco just made a comment which was just so funny because it was just in passing, but it was relevant to what we're talking about.
Side, do we need direct communication? Yes or no? That's not for us to decide, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things. A very common refrain over StarCitizen's development is take it to the point of realism and then bring it back to the point of fun. You know, it's you have to. We could do something like that, but boy, would it be incredibly annoying at times when you really need it. Mm-hmm. You know, but you know, we got some time before we have to figure that out. Still,
sides.
Yeah, and I think that is hugely the key point. It's like you take like people shouting for realism. You start off with the realism, and then it's like, well, actually, this is fucking annoying, and then you bring it back to what's enjoyable.
Yeah.
If you want a realism, then go and get a simulator. This is not a simulator.
Hellion.
Yeah.
And the point they were talking about there about the whole communications over a distance of if you really want that realism example of if you spoke to someone in a different system or at the other end of a system and there's a 5-second delay in everything you're saying, that's just going to be piss annoying. We're all streamers here. We all know how annoying it is when you're communicating with chat. You say something, 5-10 seconds later, or 30 seconds later, they respond back. You've forgotten about what the fuck you said anyway. Yeah. So that's what the conversation is going to be like. So I agree. It's about taking it as realistic as possible and then dialing it back to the point where it's a good balance. It's not about making it fun, 100% fun compared to realism. It's about making it a good balance between it. And that is basically Chris's idea of cool, fun, realistic. And the balance that he decides. And again, it's like Coffee Horse said, it's down to trust. I trust in Chris Roberts and his vision. I might not agree with everything, but I'm confident in the direction it's going so far.
Yeah, look, I think this is a really like I miss not just the term for the chairman, which again is something I noticed that we haven't had one for a while. I don't think a term for the chairman questions, or if they've stopped it or whatever.
I think they've stopped it.
They've stopped it. Period. But I was like, I miss that. I also miss the round table things that they used to have with the head of development. I would love to ask the question to each one of those people on the round table and say, what is fun in StarCitizen to each of you? Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of get a little bit like of a flavor of what, and specifically fun, and just kind of like get them each to answer that question to kind of tell. And it'll be fascinating to hear from Chris's idea of what is fun within StarCitizen to him, and just kind of elaborate on it. Because at the end of the day, it is super subjective. So I want to hear it from the people who are actually making the fucking game.
It's
rather than
subjective, but the overall subjective is from Chris Roberts and his brother.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what other people that are developing.
And then if you can convince them,
they're the influencers on his mind. You have to remember they are influencers, so they do have an impact.
You can convince him.
He listens.
Yeah, definitely.
He talks about in his interviews again, because I've already gone through too many of these fucking interviews. He does talk about one of the things that he loves about an open development game is the fact that he gets feedback. As much as he kind of hates it, at the same time, he does talk about how, getting that source of information is useful, and it does have an impact. So it's not like they completely stonewall it,
No, very true.
He will say, I don't care, I'm going to do it my way, and I respect him for that, and I would want him to do that many times, more times than not. At the same time, though, I always said is a good leader listens. It doesn't always necessarily
also needs people to be able to tell him, feels that they are able to say that make this is shit. And that's the thing.
I think there's been a couple of occasions, like with the latest CitizenCon about selling digital tickets and stuff like that, where he needs someone to come along and he needs people who aren't in fear of him as being the big boss man like Hercules, to come up and to say no, and I think he has a team around him who does give him advice. It's a bit like a government, you've got your president, you've got the people, the advisors around you, and he has his vision and he won't stray from his vision because he knows what it is, but certain aspects he's welcoming ideas and advice. And it's the same as a content creator, as a human being. You have an idea of what you want to achieve, but you're open to advice and you're open to, because not everyone can know everything
except for Trump.
Trump is the one. But no, it's true, and I think he does have advisors around him that do guide him. I just think he is a perfectionist, and he needs people to say, "Okay, let's just put it out as it is. We can fucking fine tune it later. Let's get it out now, and let's just roll with this." That's his trouble, I think, is he's too much of a perfectionist and he needs to just chill a bit. Otherwise, he'll die before the game's out.
Yeah, maybe. It's funny. The more it's funny when more you kind of go into the interviews and the more you delve into the history of somebody. It's like art. It's like it's very easy to walk into the modern art and look at a piece of art and go, "That's a pile of shit, my kid." Very easy to do that. Often, if you delve behind the scenes, often of the art piece a little bit more, and you kind of delve into the mind of the person creating that piece, trying to tell you something, trying to tell you, lead you on their journey, you may still come to the same conclusion. But at least you've gone into that place to understand what they're necessarily trying to tell you about what they're trying to create. And then if you come out of that, you might actually go, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like a Jackson Pollock painting, for example. When you first see it as a child, I would be like, oh, that just looks like what my kid did it in nursery, But when you actually watch, listen to the man talk and the way he kind of paints and the way he was kind of doing it all, you realize like it's a totally different, it becomes a different place. And I think that's the thing for me is Chris Roberts. The more I learn about him, the more, I kind of, it's cool. I find it fascinating. I'm really enjoying actually watching the video. So thank you for whoever challenged me. And it educates me more on the development of the game and understanding now. It could come to the same conclusion I've had many times before, a really salty conclusion, be like, this is all a scam.
But on the other hand, I know there's just so many people that I've spoken to like years ago who backed the game because it's Chris Roberts, because they had respect for it. They didn't care what he was doing. They just backed it because it was him. And they've left because of whatever their reasons are. It's not followed the true vision or whatever. So, yes, I suppose there's all sorts of angles, isn't there?
Exactly. Okay, so because I'm just looking at time, and I know that we have the ATV awesome armor to go over as well, which I don't want to spoil because the armor looked tremendous.
Though, so. Okay. But going on to a very similar point, I was just gonna head up in terms of, because there was basically a PC Gamer, as always, article on about this. So this is kind of linking into the future and changing and feature creeping and stuff. And basically, I think one of the developers said something about because you said this last week or the week before, Madness, about the RTX ray tracing and all.
Oh yes.
Is it going to like do their job for them and everything else, and will they use it and blah blah blah. Anyway, so basically one of the developers, which Ben Parry, turned around and said, look, if ray tracing is just another headache, and then he kind of, everyone jumped in and goes, oh, what do you mean it's a headache, blah blah blah. Then he kind of went into a slight bit more detail and said, well, basically it's because it's a newer technology. If you implement it, you can't just go over to it, because by doing that you then cut out everybody else that's playing your game. So everybody that hasn't got RTX, it doesn't work. You'd have to have that technology. So it's like, if we implement it, it would have to then be an additional feature, an optional thing that you can turn on. And then by doing that, it means more work, more processing, more, a lot more everything to do with like just making it just basically you said a headache for development. There's not saying they won't necessarily do it. It's just that it's a ton more work.
RTX is like VR. It affects a minority amount of people, and with the current state of where StarCitizen is, focusing on something like that affects a handful of people is not worth investing time into. And again, like you said about having the first of anything, the first of 3D TVs, the first of RTX, the first of whatever, the first of VoIP or FOIP. Wait until it's ironed out, and then maybe make it the standard, and then they can introduce it. They're not saying they're never going to do it. They're just saying at the moment it's too much of a headache to really focus, because they've got other priorities as well to deal with.
Rather than you're not transferring over to it; it's an extra. So
yeah, and it ain't going to affect any of us at the moment unless you have an RTX graphics card. So
I'm not fussed. People are playing the game and they're working out whether it's actually making the difference and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really relevant. But the other thing that also made me laugh on it, and I've said this because I kind of, but maybe this is why maybe I should go and watch Reddit. But like you scroll down afterwards and there's like the comments underneath, and it's just people being people that they don't read the article at all and they go, oh yeah, another reason for fucking CIG's delays. And it's like, no, he's saying they don't want to do it because it would oh yeah, there we go again.
They just read the title.
Implement new technology and blah blah blah. And it's just you read comment after comment, and then it's like and when you see that, it kind of makes you realize like why these people, they're really not worth bothering trying to convince otherwise. Like people comment and they give like references and links and saying, oh no, this means this and this means that. It's like you're totally wasting your time. They're there, and it surprises me, and it shouldn't, how many people just passionately follow something that if they really disbelieved in the game, if they really thought it was a scam, if they really believed that it's been 8 years development and wasted time, why are they bothering? Like, there's big games that have come out recently. I just don't look at them. I'm not bothered. I move on, and I'm not going to look at it. I don't sit there and troll their forums and it's just. And this is kind of off the point, I suppose. It's just a little moan, but people just do my
very lonely people.
This is my soapbox thing, but it's just people do it regardless.
People
of what
like to complain. People like to moan about things. It's pretty, like if I go around to my mum's or to any of my family and speak to them, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "This is a problem. That's a problem. This is shit. Life is shit." And I'm like, "Fucking hell! All right, I'm going then." So people like to complain. And it's like, I still get comments on my videos now saying about how it's a scam. And it's like, why are you even here? If it's a scam,
yeah.
entertain yourself doing something more fucking worthwhile in your life rather than sitting here and complaining about it. It affects me not at all because I'm like, well, I don't care what your thoughts are. I still think it's cool. So you entertain yourself by moaning and see what that brings around for your life. You cunt. Sorry.
But that's it. I mean, there are some people, like we was talking about it to Joe today, and it's like there's some people that no matter what you say, they'll always say the opposite. So you can go and work today and say, oh, traffic was really fucking busy today, and they'll turn and say, oh, I thought the roads were quite clear. Yeah, and then you can come in and say, oh, yeah, the roads were quite clear coming in today, and they'll turn and say, well, I thought the roundabout was a right nightmare to get past today, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever.
It's freezing cold down here. Oh, it's really warm today, actually.
Oh, man,
yeah. Just do it to piss him off.
Yeah, no, I know somebody like that. I have a friend like that. It makes me laugh. You watch him in an argument, he'll swing backwards and forwards from the opposite side just because he enjoys to watch the other person get wound up. He's a master at it. Actually, here's something which I found, again, I love delving into the history. StarCitizen is so old, and there are so many things to it, and there's so many facets and things that people forget about. Does anyone here remember and know about the thing called the Zeus model?
Yeah, the first ever RSI ship. That had jump capability.
Because we were talking about this before, and I remember, and I didn't even know about the Zeus ship at the time, but I spoke about this as like, hey, we just should have some old NPC ships in the game, and they should, have them. They could be shells, and they just fly around and doing all sorts of stuff. Yeah, people like talking about it, like it's the RSI, but not everyone maybe knows about it. So I've got it. It's random. It's in the document. It's around. There's a couple of pictures of it. There's a model, the Zeus model. It's like number 40. I think there's a model.
Was it before
ship.
the Mars problem, or was it after? Was it like the 20th?
So it's to commemorate the legendary flight of the RSI model. Was oh gosh, hang on, it's on Voyager. It's on Voyager Direct. You actually had to pay 10,000 UEC for that thing.
For the actual
what? I don't know.
Put it in your hangar thing. Yeah.
Use created SPR. Hang on, if someone said there you go, if someone created a model of the actual ship, but yeah, it's like a NASA freaking spaceship.
Yeah.
There's a picture above it, Moist. I think the Zeus one above the Asperia or the RSA created a Zeus with engines. Would you buy it? Somebody said. So if Asperia or RSA
2140, yeah, it's 2140. I reckon so. I would love to see this as a. I think like the Asperia. Is that what you just said? Actually, you just said that, didn't you?
Yeah, the Asperia thing, because they recreate, models and other things, and
yeah, that would be very cool.
I just had never seen it before, and I was like, "Whoa, where did that come from?"
Madness. If you want to learn more about the history, type in StarCitizen timeline, and it'll come up with. It's very early posts that StarCitizen did in the original sort of after the Kickstarter or during the Kickstarter, where they had all these different timeline dates like terraforming potential, terraforming Mars, the Mars tragedy, 2140, there's Zeus, and then you've got Mars finally being terraformed. But like 4,000 lives were lost as they tried to terraform Mars. They thought the whole atmosphere was fine. Yeah, even Paul has started doing it, hasn't he? But yeah, there's a whole history to basically when Chris Roberts to now, you know, and it's there's so much history there. Even Chief Monkey has done a really good series of videos for covering all this. I think it's up to episode 6 or something like that. But it's really interesting stuff, and that's what I mean about investing time into games. I don't want to invest time into other games. I want to invest time into learning the history, learning Jan, learning. Like I care more about the StarCitizen history than the fucking our own planet. To be fair, so I'm really delving into this shit and learning it.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's fascinating. I know we always get new people, you see. That's the thing, is there's always new people to the game and they don't necessarily know this stuff. So I always like to sometimes delve in and dig out some of the old bits of information. We take it for granted, you know? So anyway, that was something I just dug up the other day and I was like, wow, where the hell, like, where was that? I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm with the few on this one. I think it would be kind of cool to have a museum in-game with like old ships and actually creating like a history backline and showing you could go in there and visit and actually learn about how it all happened.
Great.
Past wars, but instead of just seeing it as text on a document on the website, actually going to museums and stuff. Well, pretty cool.
One of the like I think before I even started doing videos, one of the things I wanted to pursue was the Artemis. You know, the ship that was the first one that was supposed to set out to find a new habitable planet for Earth, and it has a long burn with loads of like thousands of people on board. And it just disappeared. And there's like little bits of it dotted around, like the Asylums on Osso, which is, you know, you're not able to land there because it's under the UEE's protection for the Fair Chance Act. You're not allowed to interfere. But they actually like honor this piece of the Artemis as if it was a god. And there's also, it says another piece of it is in a museum somewhere. So I think the idea is you could go down to like a museum on Terra and see these physical pieces of history of StarCitizen lore and read up on it. Right. And it'd be really cool. Yeah. Tour guides. Where's Bio when you need him?
Oh, God, yeah.
They did it with they did it with the guns, you know, like, and when we go down there, you know, we see the guns all laid out, so why not have something similar?
Yeah, and Hurston,
yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, I'm sure. I'm hoping we'll see that kind of stuff maybe in the microtech, but for futuristic stuff. So maybe they might throw in like a future ship that we can't have access to, like a concept ship. You know, hidden. You know, like in parts or a room which says top secret or something like that. You know?
Well, I do hope Asperia really, because so far we've seen from Asperia alien ships, but it does say in their lore that they cover ancient ships, old ships as well.
Oh, nice.
So that could be a little hint towards the Zeus being a potential. Maybe. I mean, to me, it looks a bit like the Avenger.
It does a little bit. It reminds me of like when I was a kid and like I used to buy the old NASA future space.
Yeah, the classic space ships. Yeah,
it's like a NASA future spaceship. You know, drawn with a ruler and pen and blacked out the nose. Okay. Let us. We can do. Mac, you said you had a soapbox thing for this evening to discuss.
I do, and it was from Reverse the Verse when they were talking about the sound of space and whatnot. Mm-hmm. One of the things they mentioned, someone asked the question. With the idea that a ship recreates the external sounds to aid in situational awareness, as the ship gets damaged, would it ever be a case that the system fails and you'll find yourself in complete silence? So I guess for the sake of those who don't know, to get around this whole point of we can hear sound in space, the idea is the ship recreates the sounds of the environment, like other ships firing at you, the sounds of ships whooshing past and so forth, so that you have a better situational awareness. But really, it's just because it sounds cool, which is, again, going back to the whole Chris Roberts making things cool over realistic. And the idea is that, you know, the ship recreates it, and that was the end of it. That was kind of what we were going to get out of it. But what they've said is they're currently fleshing out a lore sound simulator component module, So it's a component that propagates the sound for you. And they also said that your suit or your helmet, if you go planet side, will have the same module on board your helmet or whatever that will recreate the environmental sounds. But obviously, if it's an atmosphere you can breathe in, you could take your helmet off and get the full flow of it all rather than it being recreated. But also, with it being a physical component, it means it can be targeted, it can be destroyed, and it could wear and degrade. So over time, if you start hearing glitches or bits of audio around your ship that doesn't quite fit right, or it suddenly goes kaput completely and you're left with no audio for the external part of your ship, then you get that really cinematic feel of being in the middle of space with no audio other than the internals of your ship. And that to me was like really exciting, because I've always thought they should go the way of not having external sounds, of hearing other guns firing and ships whooshing, because I would like that idea. It sounds cool. But I'm glad that they've sort of found a way to work it into the lore, but also into the component system, so you can have both. You can have it making a noise and you can have it not.
I think people will take that component out on purpose so that they can just not.
I mean, I would turn it off.
How much power does it use?
I would say it wouldn't use a lot at all. I would say it's more of a computer blade, like a component module, rather than like you've got a computer and you've got your little prototype blades going in and whatnot. I reckon it'll be one of those that just propagates the sound for you, and you can maybe get a better one that gives you more focused or more distance of hearing.
Okay. As long as I don't have a power switch on the side which says overclocked and power, that's what I care about.
Overclocked sounds.
Yeah.
The problem I find with that is like we were kind of touching this on last week or whenever it was about how, like with the flight mechanics, how you want to see it as cinematic. So you watch a film and think, oh, that's really cool. The atmosphere is really cool. And that's how they want to recreate it. And I worry a little bit on that respect to the same with the sound. Like, if you're watching a film, it's been scripted to be silent. It's been scripted to build up that tension and to give you that feeling of power loss or something's damaged. But if you just had no sound constantly when you're playing a game, like, I just don't think that's going to be good. It'd be cool for a little bit. And then it'll be like, oh, yeah, where's all my other sounds? Where? Yeah,
so then you'd think, right, well, I need to replace this component because I want those sounds back. But I do think the way sort of StarCitizen tends to happen is it naturally finds a really cool cinematic method to stuff. And we've seen it so many times in the game where something will happen and you'll be like, holy shit, that just naturally occurred based on the systems they're creating that just work well together. And I feel that might be another one where, yeah, you might want the sound. It helps definitely with situational awareness. Definitely for immersion, it's in knowing where you are. But then if that component got destroyed, you'd be like, holy shit, now I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. All I'm hearing is things hitting the inside of my hull, like a gunfire going, tung, tung, pung, pung, that sort of stuff.
Space debris.
Yeah, space debris. And then you're like, okay, we need to get that back up and running because I can't dogfight unless I've got that blade in that computer. And I know where people. I mean, you'll still have your radar and shit working, but audibly, you won't know. You won't hear them going straight past you and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's open for debate. That's just my personal preference. I might be wrong. I'm not, but you never know.
We don't know.
It'd be fun for 5 minutes, and then it's like, fuck this shit. Where's my sound on?
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
I'd have to play it more to kind of get that sense. I mean, we had this somebody did this on their stream today. I think it was Binary Loop. He did this with Star Wars, and they played the end scene of Star Wars, the first one, when they walk up the entrance hall with no music, no John Williams, triumphant entrance scene. And it was just awkward. It was just like, it was literally like, you hear the clunk, clunk, clunk sound of them walking up. Yeah, and then with Chewie, and then there's like this little bit where they look at each other, and then they put the thing, and it's like, you hear like the chewing gum, kind of like and it's like the shuffling of feet in the background, and you just kind of go, yeah, there's a reason why we need music to kind of like really bring that moment.
We noticed that a lot because we play D&D as well. It's the same thing when we was like streaming that. It's like it's so fine. We can talk and play the action scenes, and we talk the scenes and everything. But there's also an element where you feel like then the silence is just weird. Like, you need something there to fill it.
Yeah, just to kind of bring that little. I mean, I don't have a problem. I think someone said like you eject out of your thing, and then all of a sudden like it goes quite quiet and stuff, and like you said, you get the pinging sound. I like that tension. I think you can be very clever with how you do it on stations because I want that. I do want the tension music. Like for example, if the Vanduul are in a spaceship somewhere, could you imagine like having minimum audible will be quite intense, but at the same time adding just a little bit of music turns to something and a little bit of that subtle kind of creaking. I think in like Dead Space, again, I watched a great interview about how they created the audio in that. And Dead Space, because obviously the stations were in a vacuum, so you could get the sound. But then there were sections where then there was no sound because then you were in an air pressured area, then you were in a vacuum. So you then got those wonderful moments of in between.
Yeah, they did it really well, didn't they?
Really, really, really cool. Really beautifully done. And so
I mean, it reminds me of
that.
this, to be honest. Follow that. It just makes me think of this as an example of how it would sound.
Yeah. Like that, that heavy breathing and the kind of like the cold crackling on the glass as you kind of your air's running out and you're kind of, that someone said in the chat, beautiful, that beep, beep of your, as you're waiting for your rescue.
I reckon they could do it right. They could do it really good if it works. But I get your point. It could be really irritating at first if it's just a complete silence.
It's got to be done well. Yeah, done well. Done well, I think, would be the way. I think there's nothing wrong with your suggestion. I think they just need to implement it well, and it can't be half-assed.
Things well. So.
I just personally feel
job with the combat music, which flows quite gently over in some normal music.
They're like all departments. They have their bad points and their good points. More good points with music than.
I just think it will naturally work. I think it'll just naturally sound good, and it's that sort of case about the audio team where if it's done badly, it's obvious. If it's done right, nobody notices. It just sounds good, or it just you just take it for granted.
You'd be surprised, and especially in the horror games and like the Resident Evil you're playing, that how much the music plays part. You don't necessarily notice it, but it builds up that tension. It's the same in films. You can watch a film. Sometimes silence does it. Having that silence really builds up tension. But then there's other times it's just that little bit of orchestra, a little bit of instrumental, and that builds it up as well. So, like you said, it does depend on the situation and things like that. But the clever use of music does have a big effect at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we say music, it's like we're not talking necessarily, like hip hop and backbeat tracks or something.
I was thinking Barbie Girl, but okay, maybe.
Or Barbie Girl, or we're talking a bit more subtle.
But yeah, I agreed with Matt. I actually turn music off in games for a more immersive feel, and it kills me to this day because Pedro's such a nice guy. But I occasionally I will turn the music on in StarCitizen just to sort of let it work with the game, but ultimately I will play it with the music off. I will play it and just get the whole experience of the game sounds.
If I play an MMO, I tend to turn it down or off because I listen to my own music, granted, for moments. But then if I'm playing a single player game, I just turn it down. I don't necessarily have it very loud because often I want to hear, like you guys say, equally, I like to hear more of the environment. So I'll tend to hear more, like the gunfires and the sound effects and the horse and all this sort of stuff if I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, for example. But I will always have the music on because I always like the moment because the music always dials up to tell you, or the moment there's a kind of like a triumphant fight scene, or suddenly like I'm in the middle of a gunfight. It's like, I like that. I do like.
But again,
that.
that's the difference. That's one of the differences between me and you. Is I would probably go more for the sim side of StarCitizen rather than the fun side, because I do spend time, like in Red Dead, I will walk. I will walk as many places as I can until I get really frustrated, and then I'll fast travel. So this is where they're struggling to cater for everyone, because you would prefer to maybe have the audio, the music, making it feel more like a real fun experience. While ours go for the simulation side of things.
They're gonna cater for both of us. That's the reality. And if you don't like it, you just turn it down. You just turn it down, don't you? I think that's the thing. I think they'll cater for both. In this instance, I think, and I was just going to say, that what a great ATV that was with the sound guys. I really enjoyed it. They seemed like a really good bunch of lads that I really enjoyed. I don't normally watch the sound and be enthralled, and they were really. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was a lot of information to take from that, which was like the PA system and all that sort of stuff. It was a really great one.
Considering sound is tough, like, you'd think sound would be boring, but they, the three of them were. I was like, they look like they get on really well. Those guys, like, I could go for a beer with them.
I mean, to be fair, they locked
Realism we might be able to.
Yeah, maybe
rooms with sound improving all around them. They got to get on. She's like locked in this room making noises.
Well, it's like that. The tour we did. I think we met one of those. Was it one of those guys where we went into his little soundproof room, and there was about 8 of us, or maybe even 12 of us in there, and he was like, "Right, let me play this." It was really awkward, but it was cool to see. Just had this really tiny room. It was actually
a really interesting part of the tour, wasn't it? And he was showing how it worked on the things, and like got all the different sound clips and put them together and stuff. It was really good. I mean, things Ben like I can't remember which one of the 3 it was, but I think it was the first one that introduced himself. I can't remember who it was though.
Can't remember.
But yeah, anyway, I actually quite like looking at that sort of stuff, because I do think, like we're just saying, and it's not just music, but actually just the sound effects. I think. And it's the same with the lighting as well on these scenes. It's surprising how much that can change the atmosphere of a place. Like when you go to, like when we went to Corvalax, and they first of all it was fine, then all of a sudden they changed it, and it was started being dark, and you get these flashing lights and everything else, and the sounds of the abandoned. And I think they said on that RTV how they're going to have different sound effects of things hitting your ship, and probably get things creaking and stuff like that. It's those things that like you said, you don't necessarily think about it, but when it's there, it really builds up that sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely. Something else, I said that because you said something that reminded me, and I've forgotten. Fuck! What was it? Coverlight. Oh, lighting. It was to do with lighting. There was someone posted on my Discord maybe 2 months ago a picture of when they jumped into Lawville 3.4 and all of the lights in Lawville were off, like everywhere. It was just darkness, but you could still run around Lawville in the dark and make, using your torchlight. And that to me looked like a really cool, like apocalyptic scenario. And I think, I just hope that they do stuff like that with maybe not main landing zones, maybe not those sort of like major landing locations.
Blackouts.
Like, someone's attacking, there's creatures around or whatever. But yeah, that lighting, again, is like the audio. If it's done correctly, nobody notices as such. If it's done badly, it stands out to everyone and it looks awful.
Yeah, when the audio breaks, everyone knows about it. When we're all grumbling about the audio breaking in StarCitizen.
It's so inconsistent. a gun bug where it's like
12 pirates.
It's driving us crazy for like 4 hours. You're like, I've got to turn it. They're like talking, shouting over the music for the fans and stream. Yeah. Okay. So as Mac's gone, that's the end of his soapbox section. We have the ATV to go over, I guess, which is the armor, and I think that's it, really, isn't it? Was there anything else?
ATV was basically, well...
Yeah, we done the other thing, didn't we?
Yeah, it was like showing off some new armor, but although they were showing it off, they was actually describing more... let's put it on. It was more about, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, about how they had... they were taking junior designers and everything else and showing them how to sort of build these armors sets and clothing and everything else, but by using less
cost effectively.
Making it more cost effective is probably the best way of putting it. So they're saying, like, you imagine it in like Photoshop when you have loads of layers. It's like trying to make these layers work so that you don't end up using tons of resources, which is quite funny because the other week we had the bloke that was doing the effects out of the back of the engines for more damaged state. And he was saying, "Oh, it's cool because I just get to make the effect because I don't give a shit how much resources it uses. That's not what they make me do. I've just got to do these cool effects." It then goes off to somebody else that says, "Oh no, that's using far too much resources. We got to cut it down." And so what they were saying was, this is actually you want to, instead of having to cut everything down, if they can bring it into a designer level early on, so that people are actually designing it better as well, then that helps them. But yeah, this is a new armor set as well.
Yeah, I mean, fairness is like they saw it in the Art Court demo. I have to see that again to see how good it was in terms of the fidelity and stuff. I don't know. I'm guessing they've dialed it up a bit. It looks better. I mean, it's the closest I've ever seen of it. So, as far as I'm aware, I'll call it new. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be corrected. If you feel free to give me a link.
Can't say I have seen the helmet before.
I don't think a floating head was in the
I don't remember it.
Doesn't spring into mind. I normally see most things, and it usually, armor especially, is like kind of like I'm pretty like, oh my god, I haven't. But I could have missed it. It could have been in the background somewhere. It's perfectly possible.
But the idea of them training I mean, we may see a slowdown in the speed at which armor and characters come out, because it's like pipeline. They have a set amount of things. If you introduce something new to the pipeline, it's going to extend the time scale. But we're not really finding characters take a long time to come out. We're not getting delays or pushbacks of anything character related. So I think it's a good idea. And if they can get it so that the characters are optimized more straight away, rather than having the characters are created and then QA have other things as well as characters to have to optimize, I think it's a good thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see this coming into other areas of the game, like the ship team maybe being asked to optimize their assets early on in the game, rather than, after the artists have designed them or whatever. I don't know if it's the same. It's probably all artists, isn't it? It's probably all the same across the board. But it's definitely a good step in the right direction for getting things more solid on release, rather than fucking about afterwards with bugs.
Yeah, definitely. Totally right. Definitely.
But it's cool armor set. I like it. I think the helmet's a bit too like long.
The look.
No,
very Dead Spacey.
I kind of like that though. I thought it was kind of cool, the back of it and the way it kind of opens up and stuff. Like I've said this before. It's like if you put a cloak, if you can get a cloak over the top of that, it feels really like a Darth Revan helmet. With the way that it kind of, or like a kind of a bounty hunt. It looks very Star Wars-y, if I'm honest. Kind of like quality, almost Android, almost like a robot. It does feel like it could be a robot underneath that.
Oh yeah, it is in the Squadron 42 trailer.
Oh, nice.
Or a similar one of it. It's.
We've got a clip. We've got someone just chuck it in.
Yeah, it is really about 118, 115 of the Squadron 42 trailer. It looks like as they're going around what's the main oppressor pirate guy of Squadron? Silo Khan or something like that. Sota Khan. Part of his base. Yeah. One of his group. So it could be to do with... I thought it was ArtCorp. I thought it was going to be maybe an ArtCorp security guard, but it looks like it might be an OMC pirate.
Squadron 42, the cinematic trailer, the newest one?
Yes. Yeah, go to about 118.
118.
And the other one...
Okay, I got it. That looks different-ish, though. That looks
if you really focus in on it, I think the helmet's the same.
Okay.
Well, while he's looking at that, the other boy did have some other new armor. Which
It
wasn't in ATV, but
the mask. The mask looks different.
Which was the advocacy set, or the advocacy agents. I thought looked pretty cool. It reminded me a little bit of Judge Dredd, actually.
That's definitely changed though, because if you notice the helmet, it looks like it's got a nose that sticks out from one of the sides. It could be the angle.
It's probably been updated since then. They're always fucking about with stuff.
It's hard to tell because it's a bit blurry, but it's similar. It's definitely the same armor. It's definitely the same armor, that's for sure. It's whether it's definitely been changed though.
These advocacy agents are something I've learned recently, is that they are assigned to particular squadrons, quadrants of the verse, or maybe different systems. And if you see one, they're generally tracking down someone who is like a terrorist, a big known criminal.
No, this is exactly the same armor. It hasn't changed. I'm just checking it now. No, it's definitely the same armor.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks like, it may have textured a bit, but it looks exactly the same.
They say that if you see more than one advocacy agent running together, it's basically advised to get out of the system because they're tracking down a big criminal.
Yeah.
But they like what's that lady we heard in Emily Tomlinson or whatever her name was in the Squadron 42 Vertical Slice. She was an advocacy agent. They're kind of like the top echelon bounty hunters for the UEE that go after the hit list of the terrorists of the verse. So if you see one, they take control of situations, and they're quite.
The weird
cool
thing
people.
with that is the whole that Mercury skin that we unlocked, which is the advocacy skin, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we
they
hunted
built
them
that
down.
Yeah, and it's really weird giving you that when these are supposed like. Surely we shouldn't be flying around in a ship that's got their decal.
Yeah, imitating an advocacy agent.
It just kind of seemed a little bit weird, considering their background and what they're supposed to be. That we're all fly around in
Maybe it just means we're cheering for them.
Maybe they'll lock it, so you have to have a certain reputation with the advocacy to be able to use it on your ship.
That would be cool if we could if we could get employed as an advocacy agent. Maybe as I know they said we can't really technically be the police, can we? Didn't they say that?
Well, they have this new thing as well for like finding out whether you're in illegal ships and stuff as well. So maybe if you wear that type of thing in the wrong area of space, it might be a bad idea. If you go, especially if you go to a criminal area, you're wearing your black advocacy with the police costume, and you're walking into like into the pirate zone, and be like, "Who the frick is this idiot?" You know.
You go, well,
my guys,
man, just concentrate.
Doyle.
Whoops. It's like flying into trying to fly into Port Olisar with your pirate skin on your caterpillar or something. It's such a dumb idea.
Shit, I've got the wrong skin on. Get out of there quick.
It's like flying with your pirate flag up. Just fly the flag up, quickly pull it down and change.
It's always get all these people that say to me, "I'm a pirate org. We're known as this, and this." And we're it's like, don't fucking announce the fact that you're a pirate org, because you'll be hunted by the UEE all the time.
Have you never played a game with pirates? You're not supposed to tell everybody.
Yeah. Say you're laundry haulers. All you do is haul laundry around. No one's going to touch you.
But not just laundry, dirty laundry.
Dirty laundry. I'm here to deal with your dirty laundry.
If you're a pirate, just fly around in a 600i. That's all you need to do, or an 890 jump. Fly around in the complete opposite luxury ships.
Yeah, nobody expects the butterfly.
Exactly.
Or an Aurora.
Cool.
Suspects, sorry.
So yeah,
that was pretty much ATV. That and the we already covered the tugboat, and we've already covered the Arc Corp City Lights thing as well. So yeah, pretty much it. I think I
think we're done for the foot. I think so. I think that's.
We have one question which I did mean to go over when we were talking about flight mechanics, so I'll answer that, and then I think we'll wrap it up, shall we? So this was from Human Evil, and he asked, "Have you played Infinity Battlescape before? Any of you?"
No.
Yeah. Once. Long time ago.
Bock. So you can answer this one. He says, if so,
hopefully,
do you think, going by what we have heard on the flight model, do you think Affinity's flight model will match StarCitizen's flight model?
Oh, it's been such a long time ago that I played that game. I really can't remember the flight model. Well, I do remember.
I'm watching the trailer now. Watching it now.
It wasn't that difficult or advanced. That's what I remember, but that could have been changed during that time. I don't know.
I remember the trailer and it looked pretty cool, and I was excited by it. My worry is that the flight model will end up starting to feel sticky and rigid like No Man's Skies. That's my worry. That's bad, by the way.
Fuck, I can't remember No Man's Sky's flight model. It was a bit.
You go in a straight line. Effectively, you can't really you can't side strafe in a. There's no com stab in a No Man's Sky ship. You're going in a straight line. Rockets are in the back.
Yeah.
And it goes in atmosphere and it goes straight. It's designed and it goes straight.
If there's no com stab in No Man's Sky, then I'm going to say it won't feel like No Man's Sky as we have com stab.
No, but I'm saying, like, if you were to take, like, the most rigid type of flight mechanic that's really basic, like No Man's Sky is it. You know what I mean? It's like there's like literally the most basic engines in the back, go forwards, and kind of aim at a target and shoot it. It's if it gets to that level, I will cry.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm really excited for the flight model. I just hope it. Even if it's not the very exact of what we want from a flight model, if it's the bottom rung of the ladder, then I'm fine with that. If it's the foundations of the new flight model and it works and you can see the potential in it and you can see how it's going to work, then I'm good with that. But if it's complete tosh and nothing like what we want, then it's going to be a concern.
Yeah, but what are you going to do then? Ditch the game? Or
of course. Yeah. I would learn to play it, but I'm hoping that it doesn't have to be redone again. I just hope that it's the foundations for the new flight model.
That would be a dead step for the game, for the credibility of the game itself, or maybe Chris. They have to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never ditch it until they say, "Okay, we're refunding everyone," or we're not.
No. And they don't have to.
No, I still believe.
I'll be honest. I've had lots and lots of fun already in StarCitizen, so it's my money worth already.
Yeah, definitely. Agreed.
This is one of my thing about the flight models is that they had a very unique flight model, and this is one of my biggest worries is that we're getting into the territory of people using other games as comparisons for the flight model, whereas before it was like StarCitizen had its own freaking flight model. It was like it felt very unique to it, and it's like. I don't want it to be like that. It upsets me when we get into this. Oh, it's like and I'm watching the Battlescape prototype flight model right now, and I'm like, pretty fucking cool, actually. Like, it looks pretty.
The thing is that the flight model of StarCitizen is probably one of the most important aspects of StarCitizen. So if it didn't take a lot of time to get right, I would probably see that as more of a concern. Like if it was just instantly okay, and you think, okay, this doesn't seem right. Maybe I'm just being a bit naive there, but yeah, it should be something that takes a lot of time to fine tune and get perfect, and I don't think it's something they should take lightly, and I don't think they are. And that's quite reassuring, but that's not to say it's going to be fucking awesome when it comes out 3.5.
I'm just going to tell you right now, the Infinity Battlescapes prototype 10 minutes gameplay, they've got looks sweet flight model. They've got amazing jet engine thrusting on this thing. It looks really good. We're going to talk about this next week. Very cool. Thank you.
You know,
who was it who said who
mentioned that?
Human Evil.
Thank you, Human Evil. Awesome, dude. There's an amazing Infinity Battlecade prototype 10 minutes gameplay. I am going to watch this video properly a bit more and look at the.
You're going to contact him and request
my account.
He's going to refund and go and play that.
Yeah, you want my account, madness. So you can play it tonight.
Changing. I'm moving away now.
Next week's podcast is based on that game.
This was 2000
Battlefleet.
2005. Yeah. New podcast. It's actually game. They actually finished it and they're making it. And
it's a very small developers team, and they're still in alpha, I believe.
They're still doing stretch goals,
and it's very limited.
I'm going to say I feel that StarCitizen, if anything that they did do badly for the sci-fi world, is they became such a big behemoth and sucked up like a Hoover too much funds. There's a lot of other great games in the similar that lost a bit of money, unfortunately, that they would have got. I think because people got burnt out with StarCitizen. That's a kind of a bit of a shame sometimes, I think. But like, I'm okay. We'll talk about this next week. I'm going to end it there. We'll talk about it next week.
Bye, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, thanks everybody for dropping in. Thanks for joining us. If you're on YouTube, Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. And whatever. I just lost now.
You can't be asked, can you? You just like,
That's
fuck it, we're
just
done.
We're done. Fuck it for the night. Thanks everybody for joining us as always. We appreciate the support, and we know that StarCitizen goes up in its highs and lows, and we try to make it as entertaining as we can and give you the best information we can. Like I said, this is not necessarily the 100%. Well, it's factual, but we see it more as like down the pub, having a chat with people, rather than just the news. Because if you want just the news, the bloke below me does it brilliantly. You can just go and watch
The
his
bloke
videos.
blew you.
Blew me. He blew me. Go if you're not following him, which I'm sure you are. Go and check out his YouTube channel and everything else. But yeah, that's us for this week. Everybody want to tell us what you're up to, Madness? What are you up to this week?
I have a deadline this week, so I'm going to be working immediately after this podcast to finish a shoe, and then I have nothing changes. I've got literally Wednesday's my deadline for getting all my work across to Asia, and then I can then have a little bit of a breather, but then I'll be off to Asia. So I'm still getting over the fact that the band I really wanted to watch I'm not going to be able to see. I've waited 2 years for them to come to the UK, and they're going to be here when I'm potentially.
What was their name again?
21 Pilots. 21 Pilots.
21 Pilots.
Yeah, I'm just super gutted. I've been wanting to watch them live for ages, and so I'm just see if they're as good live as they are, obviously on audio CDs. CDs, what we're talking about.
Cassettes. Get it right.
Cassettes. What am I talking about? Vinyl, baby. I'll be doing that. And I still have a Daymar Rally sneaker that I need to do. I was asked to do it. I haven't forgotten about it, Daymar Rally. So I will get around to it when I have a moment. Like I say, for anyone that's obviously we've got people here. We are trying to do a funding goal. We want to try and hit about $2,000 this year within the team and stuff, so that we can get some better gear for the audio and stuff. So we'll be pushing that a little bit going forward and stuff. We've been doing this podcast now for X number of years, and in truth, in order to be able to make the quality better, we need funds, and I will fund it a bit myself, but it's always nice to get a little bit of money.
Funds are going to make us better. Let's be realistic.
No, well, okay.
They'll leave the country. We'll never see them again.
But if anyone has like a dollar or whatever, and you got a bit of spare money and you feel like you want to throw it our way, feel free. We would really greatly appreciate it. Or become a patron or whatever, or buy a t-shirt or all that kind of stuff. It will go a long way this year to helping us get some better mics for everybody and a few other bits and bobs. Like I say, we've got a list. We're gonna put it up there and we'll make it all official and stuff. So yeah, that's me really. Just trying to. As soon as I finish, I'm going to try and stream. You can obviously catch me a little bit of Madness everywhere: Twitter, LBOM Madness, and then we'll be streaming again soon. I promise. I've been off for far too long. Far too long. So we'll be desperately streaming.
Mr. Bock, bitch.
Mr. Bock, well, this week will be more about doing some overtime for work, some study, and where I can, some Anthem. And all I can say is watch my Twitter for announcements when I go live, because I don't have the schedule active at the moment. It's hard to say when I have enough energy to get a stream out. Yeah.
You have more streaming than I have recently, for sure.
Yeah.
Only a couple.
The Asylum crew are busy people in real life, and unfortunately that still has to take precedent over just playing games all the time. So
fucking real life. What bullshit is that? Who wants real life?
And
I do. I want a new PC.
Mr. Mac.
I'm streaming Resident Evil 2 remake until 3.5. Well, actually, that's not true. I'll still do my sort of coverage of the news and what we've heard in StarCitizen and do that maybe twice a week. But on the interim streams, I will focus more on Resi 2, get through that until March, end of, or PTU at least. till we get the new flight model, just to sort of break up the monotony of playing StarCitizen. Yeah, SuperMacBrothers Ryan on Twitch, SuperMacBrothers on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's it, I think.
Probably. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure, as always, make sure you give all these guys a follow on Twitter, YouTube, and everything else. It's very much appreciated. Links for those watching on YouTube will be in the chat below, in the box below, whatever it's called. So you can go and click on those and give them a follow. The other thing to mention, which we'll probably plug a few times, is BritizonCon. That's coming up in April the 27th, I think. I just posted. I'll do it again because I've got a stream deck and I just press a button and it works. Look at that. Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
We go to Brisbane, UK, and you can buy a ticket. Make sure you go. I think all of us are going to be there. I think Madness is a little bit unknown at the moment, but otherwise, we're hopefully all going to be there, so you can come and say hello to us, get our signatures. Just kidding. No, it's a really good event.
Want to come.
It's always a good place to meet a load of people in the UK. It's in Manchester. They've actually got a new venue this year, so it'd be good if you guys can come and show support to that and keep showing the support for the fan run event, because basically it takes people buying tickets and everything to follow it up, and it gives it funding, and so it can keep going. There are, I believe, I don't know if they're still available, but there's some VIP tickets that you will get a model of a Freelancer Max created by JRDF.
Painted by who?
No one.
Nobody.
Painted. Unfortunately, this one's they can't afford it. So yeah.
They can't afford me, is what you're really saying. They can't afford me and my skills.
If you want to afford
Have it
Miz,
painted.
you can. It will be available to paint it for you. So if you actually want it painted as well, then maybe you could contact, I believe, probably JR. They'll put you through to Miz, and they could actually get it painted for you for the actual thing. You obviously have to pay, miserable, but he could paint it for you, so you could have it all painted up, beautifully custom, just for you at BritizonCon.
Maybe not at
Only comes in orange though.
Paint. But yeah, so if you haven't got the ticket yet, go and buy a ticket. Go and show it some love. Go and support that, because it's a good thing to go and do. Other than that, myself, I don't know. I seem to have no time to do anything at the moment. I still got a bit of work on the JRDF, which I can't talk about. And I'm also painting my own diorama, which I haven't really got much to show you, but there's a little
fucking dropped it on the floor earlier.
So yeah, so I'm basically making a little diorama of Dumper's Depot. So I'm printing out different 3D parts, and I'll be painting that up, and I'm hoping to get my stream sorted out so that I can actually paint some of that on stream as well. And further into the future will be some painting streams with Madness and anyone else who wants to join. We're going to do some paint along some grey cats, hopefully, if we get them all permission and signed and bought and everything else. So yeah, so
Maybe we could do like a sing. We could do a sing-along as version as well. We could kind of sing it, like kind of opera, because I know how much you enjoy opera, so we could operify.
Done.
Cut it there. Okay, guys. So yeah, anyway, thanks all for following. Thanks for your support. Thanks for all the subs and everything else as well. Really appreciate that. And we'll catch you next week, Monday. Madness channel.
Cheers, guys.
Tune in. And we'll catch you all later.
See you then.
I don't actually.